Okay, I think I might be live, but let's double check. Gonna pump my mic volume up a little bit just because it's a bit quiet. And a little bit more. I could also move it closer, which might make a difference. Yes, here's my lovely streaming setup that I got going. I got made it look like Windows 98, which is pretty nice, and I can move all the bits about like this, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that's updating in real time or not. Oh, it is. Yeah, that's good. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna close Twitch now because I'm pretty certain that seems to be working. So, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to the very first James D Hot Cidery thumbnail stream. You could be doing anything else Saturday night, but for some reason you've decided to come here. So it's pretty good. I could make the chat thing a little bit wider just because I don't know how small that's appearing for people. Let me. Oh yeah, that's right. It's as Nancy Pelosi famously said, "Good morning, Sunday morning," for Mitch. So font settings. Yeah, let's make that font a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's I'll update in a second, but we'll see what we get on. But yeah, but obviously people are here because they want some help with their thumbnail stuff. So I'm gonna go through what was in the forms that were sent through. Did get quite a few nice bits of stuff, and hopefully something that I say today might be useful either to the person I'm talking to or just in general. You'll get to see Photoshop, which is nice if you haven't had a chance to use it that much. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, I was going to ask any questions before we started, but as Twitch is on a tiny bit of a delay anyways, I mean, I don't know, I'll give it a quick minute. I'm gonna have a sippy while I'm waiting. Yes, I'm drinking alcohol at the moment as well. Give the chat a quick refresh. Yeah, I'm not usually a massive fan of Stella, but I decided that when I was in gone shopping a couple of days ago, I was like, you know what, I haven't drank Stella Artois in a while. I want to see if there's any. You know what, it's okay. In regards to the beer rankings, I would put it slightly higher than average. It's I don't know why, but it mostly reminds me of like barbecues from when I was like a tween to a teenager, because it was always that thing that was like relatively cheap that you could get, and like that and Carlsberg Export are just like the go-to like box beers that you just get for a barbecue. But yeah, it's okay. It's you know, I know, I'm being quite nice to it at the moment because usually I call it wife beater. I'm not quite sure why it has that nickname, but I suppose it's because I don't know, the people who drink it might do such a thing, but there we go. Enough about Stella though. I'm not advertising Stella on this stream because they're not paying me to do so. It's Photoshop time, baby. Yeah, I think you might be right with that, Snake. Yes, I think that's also very true as well. Stream's off to a winning start right now. Uh, all I know is that I got slightly more viewers than Ben at the moment, which I'm not being petty about that, but it is a nice ego boost, and I need that right now. So either way, it's time to look at Photoshop and look at some of the stuff that you guys have sent in, because that was the whole reason why we put this together. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Twitch. That's what I'm going to call you, Twitch Kramer, because you did give me some help with this the other day, so much appreciated. Even then, it wasn't too much help. It was mostly just, oh, this seems to be broken. Oh wait, the servers are down. Never mind. Oh, now it seems to be working. But hey ho. It's a good question, Jesse. You could call him that if you wanted to. Like, I'm not stopping you from doing. Like, I think if he updates his Twitter name, he could update his Twitter name to that. That'd be good. He could have, just rebrand the channel to. Well, he could have Heavy Eyed on YouTube, but then he could be Twitch Kramer when he does live streaming stuff. That'd be good. So, right. Let's go into Photoshop. Let's stop putting this off. Right. Window capture in Chrome at the moment, but I'm not going to be doing that for much longer because... Oh, bam, look at that. That being said, I imagine it's quite small for you guys. Actually, I've got a special... check this out. Oh, that's very exciting, isn't it? Yeah, I got pushed everything to the side so you can now see. Yes, Joe, I am using I got an ultra wide like right at the beginning of the year. 2560 by 180. It's very nice. I used to have a 2-monitor setup that I genuinely never got on with, so my thought was, well, I'd like to have the involve 2 monitors, but I don't want 2 monitors. So, yeah, it's very nice. The only thing is that it had a bunch of selling points to it of, like, it does HDR and, like, the refresh rate's really good in it and stuff like that. I haven't got any of that stuff to work. The HDR stuff's still done through software, so it's not very good. And I haven't managed to get G-Sync working on it yet, even though the sticker is very prominently on the monitor that I am looking at right now, but I don't know. I've Googled it, I've sent emails, I've done all sorts, but it's not happening. But without that stuff, it's still a very nice monitor, but it is very wide. I could make Photoshop a little bit smaller, actually, which may give us a bit more screen real estate to play with. Let me... Okay, so that's a little bit smaller now, but... Oh, look at that. Very nice. I'll turn off the jar at the moment as well, because nobody's... Oh, by the way, if nobody's following, or nobody's, if anybody wants to, sub or whatever, do that, because I've got some very good widgets set up as well, but... Like that. I was hoping for that to kick in at some point. No, Snake, unfollow but then follow again so we get the notification. Thank you, Chariot, for the follow. Right. So yeah, if you've never seen it before, this is Adobe Photoshop. This is CS6 though. You at home probably have a more up-to-date version of Photoshop than mine. I'm purely using CS6 just because I haven't... This was the last month that was paid for, and I didn't want to pay monthly for Creative Cloud. So, unfortunately, this is what I'm stuck with, but it doesn't... How does it feel to be one-upped by your own notifications? I'm fine by it. I made these notifications to just like anytime they happen, they would get a laugh at me. The one I like the most is the donation one, but unfortunately, I can't seem to get donations working because I think it's a premium thing with Streamlabs. So for the moment, we're not gonna see what that looks like. The subscriber one is also pretty good, but that would require somebody subscribing, and I'm not gonna say do that yet because we don't know how many more of these streams we're gonna get. We gotta leave it for see how this one goes, and then if people like it and people you know they they come back, then I'll be like, go on, do some subbing. That's what we want. So yeah, but yeah, Adobe Photoshop. So you make a thumbnail, you start at 1280, 720. Don't know whether you know this, but literally all the thumbnails on YouTube are half HD size. That is the maximum that they can be. Do not bother making them any bigger than that. It does not matter. I mean, you can if you want, but this is what everything starts with by here. And I imagine that quite a lot of you look at this and you go, what the hell do I put in there? What do I fill it up with? Well, hopefully in this workshop I can help you come up with some stuff like that about how to generate ideas, how to take those ideas and polish them up. But before we do that, or kind of alongside doing that, we're going to look at the feedback form, because quite a few of you who are in this chat were nice enough when I announced this earlier in the week to send some stuff along and say, hey, I am this person and I want you to have a look at my thumbnails and tell me how they're looking. So I believe that the first person that we are looking at today is Mitch, if you wanna submit something quick, I can we might be able to squeeze you in right at the end, but the only thing I would suggest is don't send any of the thumbnails that I made you, because I would be very harsh on them. But there we go, just dropping that link right there in case anybody wants to have a cheeky look. So I will change the window quickly over to actually I could just make another display capture, that'd be good. Copy. Is there a way to... oh yeah, there we go. Okay, and this one will be having a look at Google Chrome, wherever that is. Where you at, Google Chrome? Oh, nope. No way. No, can't bring it up. That sucks. Damn it. I mean, I could just do display capture, but do I really want to risk doing that? That's the question. Okay, remove that. Yep, I do want to remove that. Okay, so here is the feedback form, and the first one was from ZoltiBoi. By the way, quick question, Zolt, because I work with a Hungarian guy at my current job whose name is Zsolt, and I was wondering if the two names are very similar to one another, because I also know that you're Hungarian as well. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. I'm just only asking for now. But would you like me to review your channel's branding? Yes. So we will have a... oh no, it is not the same name. Okay, that is good. That is good to know. I will try... I won't call you Zsolt in future. I will call you Zolt. So... so my name is Zoltan, and his name is probably Zolty. Yes, I think you are correct with that. Posty thumbnails, I have downloaded them, so we will have a look at those in a little bit. What are your channel's vibes/goals? Very personal, emotional content, I'd say. The player is the focus of the channel instead of what's being played. Mental health in video games is a big recurring topic. My goals are 1. Giving the viewer an overview of my thoughts and feelings about a game. 2. Analysing how video games purposefully make us feel specific feelings. And 3. Making the viewer comprehend why I feel the way I feel about a game by connecting 1 and 2. What do you like about your thumbs and branding? I think they are catchy. Yeah. What makes you uncertain about your thumbs? My thumbs might be a bit too rigid and cold, actually, and that doesn't really fit the vibes of my channel. Maybe hard to read in some cases, ? I might also need to stop copying you at some point, and that breaks my heart. I will give you, first bit of advice though, don't. If you want to, best way to learn Photoshop and best way to make thumbnails is look at what other people are doing. Don't so much completely copy what they're doing, but if there's particular elements that you like about their style, either their layout or their graphics and stuff like that, I don't think there is any issue in doing so. Yes, as Chariot has said, literally the line I was going to say, good artist copy, but great artist steal. So, which I don't know if that was attributed to Pablo Picasso or, as Ludwig says, yoink and twist. Yes. I don't know which Ludwig, though. Ludwig von Beethoven or the one from the Super Mario games. I don't know. Maybe both. I haven't really looked into that. But, yeah, I think just because, like, a little bit of Bobby, what I'll go into this evening kind of talking about the thumbnail stuff is the fact that, like, the streamer... I don't know that many streamers, unfortunately. I'm a bit of an old... The only streamers I watch are Hassan, because I'm a lefty. And, and of course yours as well, Mitch. I've seen a couple of your streams. I've been helping you out with the banjo ones, so that's pretty good. So, see a little bit of Raz's now and again. So, I've been on a couple of Snake streams as well, so okay. I guess I am tiny bit know about streamers, but that's about it. But, yeah, going back to the point, though, I think it's okay to riff on other people's work. I think that's, like, the best way to learn anything is find something that you really gel with or something that you find really cool and then, like, kind of ask yourself, okay, let's break this down into elements and figure out how to kind of recreate this stuff. So if we pop back into Photoshop for a second then, and if I bring up some of your thumbnails that you pitched to me today, let's have a look at this one, because I quite like this one. Yeah, hooked on competition. So, I guess, yeah, like, immediately really like the colours and the lighting that you've done with it. It's... everything's kind of pulled together very nicely. Composition-wise, it works out pretty well. If we shrink that down to... So, like, usually when I build stuff, your side view stuff is usually around this size. But you can always push it down a little bit smaller just to see how readability is. And I would say, apart from on and a tiny bit of the competition bit at the end, is this going to be available in VODs later? About to pass out, but I'd love to watch it. I don't know. I have no idea how the VOD stuff works. I just assumed it automatically generated VOD. Mitch or anybody who knows streaming stuff, is that true or false about VODing? VODs auto upload. Okay, I think it's by default. Awesome. Yeah, Basil. Yeah, you will. You should be able to watch this later. I may, if any. I'm not recording this on my end, but I might. You have to highlight the VOD, otherwise they delete it after 2 weeks. I can do that like outside. Okay, I can do that outside of the stream itself. Once it finishes. Hey, that's fine. Don't worry about lurking. It's happy to have you here. If this goes all right though, and like if like good points come out of this, I may download the video and I might cut like a highlights reel or something for YouTube. I don't know. We'll Used to know. Hello, Cecil. Are you the Cecil that I sometimes make thumbnails for? I think you are because I recognise the name. Uh, what were we talking about? We were talking about this. Yeah, I thought so. Hello, welcome to the stream. Hey, if you haven't followed, be sure to do so because the notification is very good. So what do I like about this? So yeah, I think it's a cool image. Yeah, baby. Quick question. So is this Quake 2 or Quake 4? I think. I would say like maybe that's one thing about the thumbnail is that. So interesting thing with this as well is that, and I guess that's League of Legends. Oh no, I didn't see. That's how much I know about video games. Unfortunately, it got with a hook. Okay. So one thing I would say about this, which might not have been your intention, although it doesn't matter too much, just because of the general placement of everything. My eye is immediately drawn to that, which that's down to obviously the image that you used and whatnot. But it is kind of interesting that like immediately when somebody will look at a thumbnail, you want everything to kind of if I draw another picture quickly, unless that so on average when people will look at a picture, they will usually, the first place that they will look will be anywhere within this kind of general middle-ish area by here. So anywhere from these corners, a little bit inwards and a little bit outwards as well. And that's the case apart from whether there's a place with a really intense part of contrast, which in your image is that it's quite dark all the way around apart from his head by there, but more importantly that big old area of light coming out of where the hook is, which it kind of helps that people might look that way and then sort of look there. But I almost think that kind of goes along with the slight issue that you have in here of On and Titian in competition blending in a little bit. But other than that, I think this does work pretty nicely. You layout wise as well, you've kind of, so this is something maybe that a couple of other people might not know about, but Jolt, because obviously you do thumbnails a bit more, I will be getting to that. Because Jolt does do thumbnails a bit more often, he kind of knows that like your danger areas in Photoshop in YouTube are kind of around by, like, you don't really want to place any important text in that 1/5 of a screen because you're going to have a watch later there, you're going to have the time there, and you're going to have playlist stuff by there. Sometimes if you're on a website, you might have a big old play button right in the middle by there, but that's getting rarer and rarer. I find like Discord sometimes does that, but most of the time you're not really going to have an issue with that. I think, yeah, though, if you made that text a little bit bigger, like, say, that. And I think as well, it is quite cool what you've done with this kind of perspective thing of it's almost coming out of his chest area. But I almost think you could, like, oh, let me, oopsie daisy. You could sort of undo it a tiny bit, only because I quite like the look of it, but it does make legibility a little bit harder. But if we kind of shrink down, then yeah, you've sort of already now started to see that it is a bit more readable. Another thing you could do, obviously, is if you stuck a little adjustment layer by here, you could make this general area a tiny bit darker, and that's only so it doesn't take attention away from the text, which I think is, in this case, the sort of thing that I think you want to make a point of. I don't think there'd be much else that I would do with this, though. I would maybe... because it's almost got kind of like a sort of a washed-out photograph look to it, which I think is probably what you were going for. I usually... what are your thoughts on thumbnails for text? I will let you know in a second. I would always pump the contrast up, though, on stuff like this, because I always think that it reads way better on YouTube. Like, very rarely will I do kind of washed-out text and washed-out images and stuff like that, just because, especially on a small readability, you need stuff to pop, essentially. What are my thoughts on thumbnails without text? I think you need to, like, I think they work, but it's definitely on a case-by-case basis. Like, in regards to, I think, kind of one of the reasons why I'm running this today is that a lot of people who have messaged with their thumbnails have essentially said that, you know, they want it to kind of reflect the ethos of their channels and stuff like that, but I think they don't work that well with video essays, though. They want them to kind of reflect the ethos of the channel, but also you want to make a point of, like, pulling people in, essentially. Like, at the end of the day, the reason that we do thumbnails like this is that it's like going to a video store. Like, you might go in there and you'll have absolutely zero context for what you're looking at, but you look at a video cover of, like, you know, Indiana Jones or something like that, and you see it all rendered, this kind of beautiful post stuff, but then it's covered in adventurous elements, and you go, oh, this looks exciting, you know, let's have a look at that, versus something like, say, I don't know, like the Bridges of Madison County, where it's going to be a little bit more subtle and a bit more, you know, subdued, and you're going to go, I don't know if I particularly want to watch that. But that also might be the flip side of it. You may go in with a particular context of knowing this sort of stuff, and I think obviously that's why you have the trifecta of thumbnail, title, and personality. My thing is always, I think thumbnails should have text for the most part, unless the thumbnail can say everything in it. And I might show an example of this in a second, but text is important, but I don't think you need to have a lot of... if anything, you shouldn't have a lot of text on a thumbnail. You should literally just have... Glad you agree with... oh, hello, Eurothug. Thank you. You should only have, like, either very important... you should... like, it should be, like, something that you can say in maybe 3 or 4 words at most. And they should be, like, the most impactful thing that you can do. Joseph Anderson, yeah? Does a very good job of being minimal, no text. Yeah, I would say some of his thumbnail stuff works really well. I would say that he's kind of, because of the channel size that he has, he's kind of got the liberty to be a bit more experimental, though. Like, I had a look at his stuff earlier, and, like, one of his Witcher videos, the thumbnail looks like Metal Gear, which, you know, if you're looking at that and you're going, oh, that's that doesn't look like The Witcher, that's kind of surprising. I think the new one you made for me could have possibly get away with having 0 text because of how recognizable it is. I agree with that, Eurothug, and I was potentially going to pitch that. That was potentially something that I was going to mention. I keep pitching to Jacob that at some point he could very much get away with doing a video without text in it, because definitely, again, context matters. I think the bigger the channel you are, the more likely you can get away with not having text in your thumbnails. So, like, Nikki Jakey doesn't need to do that now, because you see in the thumbnail it's him on the bouncy ball, and you go, well, I'm in it for him, that's what I want to watch. And then you have a look at the thumbnail and you go, oh, he's talking about this thing, so that's made me double more interested. Versus someone like, say, Noah Cadwell-Gervais, who his thumbnails are auto-generated from YouTube, and I don't think that really does him many favors, although it doesn't matter too much because it kind of works within the context of the sort of vibe that his channel has, which it's all very kind of like the writing is the main part of it, the like the essay side of it, and the kind of the video side of it is more to kind of support points. That being said, his editing is good, like it is what needs to be, but I think you can definitely tell from like the work that he does that it is very much more about reviews and journalism stuff, which reflects in kind of his videos and his pictures almost being like, you know, when you read like a Eurogamer article where pictures like that are very much to support his points. So, to answer your question, it's definitely down to context, but I think that you could get away with making a thumbnail without any text in it, but the image needs to be really like, it would need to speak for itself, I think. Which, in the case of Maria's upcoming video, I think it could. I think the text quite works in it though, because it almost goes for the vibe that you're going for. That I don't want to say too much because I'm not going to ruin the video, but the particular style of like sort of the tone of what you want to go for and that particular world of glossy stuff, I think fits really, like it all works together. So you're free to share it, don't worry. Okay, I guess all right, well, sneaky peek guys for upcoming Eurothub. Oh, thank you very much, Generic Poet, for the follow. I will say though, Maria came up with 90% to 95% of this idea anyways. All I did was just like, I didn't even refine it that much. I think it was just, can we fiddle around with the fonts and stuff like that? Yeah, no, I really love this. It's so like, you know, I see what you mean now. Yeah, like again, I don't want to like know what this video is because at the end of the day, I don't. But and I think that's the thing as well. And it's like, you know, it gets into the conversation of should somebody else make my thumbnails because, you know, will they be able to kind of get what I'm going for? I think in the case of like me and Maria, it's like I kind of know how to use the software that like she, you know, she's learning and stuff like that, but she always comes so I always get you to do the finish. Yeah, exactly. You always pretty much come in with like 80 to 90% of an idea, and then I just essentially I kind of just render that, like I bring that to, you know, I just kind of make your idea happen, which I quite like because again it's easier on me because I don't have to, versus like say somebody like maybe Raz or Jacob where they'll have maybe an inkling of an idea and then it'll kind of be like I almost have authorialship to then get it over the line essentially. I'm gonna have a quick look at the chat stuff because stuff is disappearing. I will say about the Dark Souls 3 one, I didn't make that. That was all Jacob who did that, and I think was probably the best thing for that because he had an absolute idea in mind for that. Yeah, I come to you because I'm I don't know. I think I don't know. Say like you had a particular vision in mind for the We the Revolution one, but it was just a matter of getting it to like I think the level of polish that you wanted, which maybe you wouldn't have got in GIMP at the time. But yes, that is the Eurothug 4000 in the chat right here. And yeah, like the Jet Set film is probably the one that I made for you, which might be my favorite, just because of the fact that like I quite like it any time I can jump into an app and like create like icons and stuff, because like that's something that I've read. Like a lot of the thumbnail stuff is just kind of you'll take really nice images and really nice text and then just combine them together in a really nice way essentially. But like again, We the Revolution's a good example of that because like a lot of that was created content. Like there's a wine glass in there that I had to like make from scratch. And thank you for the follow, Lamb. the like the icons in that had to be recreated because I couldn't find the originals in a usable size, so I just like remade those from scratch, which I think in the end everything pulled together. Like, I'll actually bring it up as a nice example of like kind of what I'm talking about here. I will get back to this though in a second, Shorty. I've ended up on a bit of a tangent here, unfortunately. Um, where is that? Where's that? Where is the phone? Ah, there it is. Oh no! Don't update. Ah, damn it! Where you at? Come on, where you at? Ah, damn it! Ah, it's gone. Where is it? Okay, I'm just gonna have to Google it then. Ah, there we go. So yeah, so like with this, like pretty much nearly all of these elements were. So the book was something that was taken in game, but the thing was completely flat. So we ended up recreating like this from scratch, essentially. So like the extra pages and stuff in the background to make it a bit more 3D. The stamp was something in game, but then the playing logo was something that we recreated. That's the logo. That's something from game. Those are elements in game, but they needed to be recreated. That is a photo that was then edited. The wine glass was created from scratch. That was partially created from scratch. And basically all these elements were then pulled together basically in Photoshop with color correction and lighting to get it over the finish line, essentially. But this was something that Snake Kid, like I would say, like you pretty much had like 70 to 80% of this idea like in the pocket. It was just a matter of just pulling it together and rendering it out, which, I mean, hey, is like, that is the reason why you would go to somebody to, you know, if you haven't got the skill set yourself, but you know somebody who does, I don't think there's any issue with, you know, going to an outside source for help. But obviously the best stuff comes when you and the artist have like, you're both on the same wavelength, essentially, which, you know, could be a couple of conversations. In my case, is mostly doing a lot of iterations and bouncing them back and forth to make sure that, you know, things are penciled out. Has the Bayonetta font got a tiny bit of drop shadow on it? Doesn't look it. I wouldn't be surprised though, because I am a fan of a subtle shadow. What does your process look like when people come to you without much of an idea of what they want the thumbnail to look like? Yeah, because in your case with the yeah, because I know like in Jacob's case and stuff, like sometimes he won't, like, he'll kind of have an inkling of what he sort of wants, but so usually with that it's okay, well, it's, you know, what's the title of the video, what's the video about, and stuff like that. And usually they'll say, okay, it's about this game, but I want to cover this particular topic, or Bayonetta thumbnail without it bomb is a game changer. Yes, fair point. Also, hello Froggy for Fries, who I used to work with in a previous life. So, so with that, it's a matter of, say, you know, going online and looking for relevant images, or like, you know, if I'm lucky, it's probably some that I've played before or like I know about, and I'll go, oh, I know what a really cool image would be for this, or like, you know, something like that. Ah, hello EbonPhantom. I know it is 6 a.m. for you over there, so if you want to dip out at any point, you absolutely can. So, and so with that, it's just a matter of like just doing research and kind of roughing stuff out, essentially. So, like, in the case of one of the films that I made about Grizz, like, I was looking at, well, I think, Cyril, you kind of gave me a bit of a pointer of that, which was, well, you know, the game's known for its, like, really nice watercolor artwork, so could we generate something like that, like, in the thumbnail? So with that, it's, okay, how can we recreate the look of watercolors? Like, how can we sort of incorporate that into the thumbnail a little bit? So with that, it was like, you know, studying how Grizz's images looked and, you know, drawing some new elements in there and creating some kind of splotches of watercolor with that. And I think with that, like that, yeah, since I was a big part of the piece. Yeah, exactly. So usually, like, when somebody comes with a thumbnail, the video will usually be in a place where, even if it's not done, it's been kind of conceptualized. So like they'll know what the thesis of the video is and stuff like that. I want to say I must have an example of when I've made one for somebody who hadn't made the video and wasn't quite sure what the thesis was, but I don't know. I want to say that I don't think that's ever been the case, but I mean, that's been the case for me. Usually I will make a thumbnail sometimes before I even know quite what the video is about, and then that'll give me a bit of like focus on how to make the video. Like, okay, I want to, like, this is what I'm selling to people, so I need to hit these main points. I have my coffee at my side, so I'll be good. I don't want to miss too much of this. That's okay. You haven't missed too much anyways, because it's mostly been me going off on tangents and faffing about. So, there will be a VOD of this later, though, hopefully, and maybe I might edit this down. But so essentially, like, yeah, the process will begin with just kind of talking to tangents. What streaming is all about? Exactly, Mitch. That's why they call you Twitch Kramer, because you know all about this stuff. So, and I think that just kind of comes from like something that I figured out very early on with like freelancing stuff, and it's been kind of like drilled into me from like working at businesses where, even though I am in a company structure, they are kind of treating you almost as like your own little manager, your own little developer and stuff like that, which is, when you talk to a client, there's two things you need to ask them, which is, well, there's two things, which is, what do you think you want? And then it's kind of looking at their own stuff, and it's like seeing what they actually need. And then it's finding that gap right down the middle, which is what works. So, like in all these cases, because you guys are all on YouTube, you can have a look at your channels and kind of see the stuff that you've already done, because one of the main things that I'm always about is, usually somebody will come to me and say, like, they've already done their own work, so I kind of want to keep it within the branding of stuff that they have done before. Jacob's an interesting case because like all of his thumbnails are very much like built for purpose for his different videos, but there's nothing that really ties them to his particular like channel identity, versus say making something for like, I mean, Snake's a good case of this, and I think Raz is starting to become a good case of this. If you look at their stuff and you immediately know, okay, it's one of their videos. So, and I think that's kind of a nice area to work in, because it keeps you sort of on track. Like, there was kind of a nice example of this with working with Thin Reaper, where he already had his, like, pretty much had figured out his own kind of branding for thumbnails, but he wanted to give it just a bit of a polish up. And, like, he came to me and I did that for his Spider-Man video, and, like, it's all very much within the rules that he set for his own stuff, but it's just a tiny bit upper than that. Do you ever get previews of videos to base the thumbnail off, or have you ever incorporated a video's own graphics or frames into a thumbnail? No, I very rarely ever get previews of videos. I'm sure if I asked for them, I would get them, but most of the time it's kind of like, I will get a pretty good idea from just talking to the person. Here's what the video is about, here's what the title is, here's the kind of the points that I want to hit. I have had quite a few times where I've made a thumbnail and like I've had the opposite of, could you send me the development files because I want to work the graphics into the final video, which I think is a nice way of doing it because it ties everything together. Like, I think, like in your case, Lamb, you kind of nail that in regards to the tone and the look of your thumbnails completely match the the actual final video. Yeah, I think it's just kind of, that's purely just experience, and that's just down to, you do a lot of these and you just eventually you will pick it up. But I think early on, if this is something you want to kind of look at improving yourself, absolutely you should ask people for the videos. I think the one example of that actually was Rasputin's video about Bon Iver, where I did watch the video of that to kind of get a, every time I get you see. Yeah, but that's because Mitch, I studied your thumbnails hardcore. I was like, right, what makes the heavy-eyed thumbnail? And the answers are rhombus's peach color Arial fonts. Just pulling all those elements together, baby. No, there's more to it as well than that. But again, it's kind of like, hey, if you are working in a particular, and again, like you want a brand to be particularly recognizable, you know, and there's a lot of sort of ways to it, and I think that's probably something I'll get to when I talk about Pim's stuff, but I think Pim has figured out quite a lot of this stuff themselves, anyways, like in the past few, quite recently. But yeah, I will pause this tangent there though, and we will get back to Zolti. Sorry, quickly. Let me pull up another one of your thumbnails while we're here. There you are. Oh, whoops, sorry. Sorry about that, Eurothug is overtaking yours. So, I quite like the idea of this, but I would say that this is mostly, like, the way that you could get this to 100% is just fixing the layout a little bit. Like, you would want both these things on one line if you could pull it off, like. And again, like, it is a long old word, but there are ways that you can kind of fit that in. I do like the old, I do like a little bit of overlap, but I think in this case it almost, you mostly see that it is the word games, but it is kind of, I don't know. You could move her a little bit over to the right a bit more. You're making her a little bit bigger. You could maybe take that element off, and I think the main thing is just that big old light beam in the middle. You'd need to darken that a little bit. Yeah, I struggle with big words. It's one of those things that my brain will just automatically break it into smaller words, which is pretty bad when you think of words like psychoanalyst and stuff like that. But hey, though, but with this, like, it wouldn't, like, you've already got quite a lot of cool ideas going on, like, got all big old sky, big old draws your eye right to the middle, which is what you want because that's adventurous. It makes you go, ooh, what's this about? I want to jump right into this world, see what's going on. Character looking at text, always a winner because they want to jump into the video as well. Why aren't you? But I'll show an example actually of one that I did for Jacob quite a while back because, like, this was sort of my thing with trying to fix the big old bright light issue of that particular image. But so, like, with that, like, you get an idea that there is a big old bright light behind that text, but it doesn't quite burn, as much as that one does. Let's you see, like, there's just a bit too, like, that text, the contrast isn't quite high enough. But yeah, I would agree with that as well, Pim. I like consistent fonts all the way through a thumbnail. The only reason that you would ever break that rule is if you are making a point. Like, if the word being in a different font needs to be in a different font because it's, say, like cinematography, you would have, why not have it in completely the same font? And, and then maybe, cinematography and you could have in the same font, and then games is the thing you put in a different font because maybe you're making a point of, well, games are different to regular cinematography. But I don't think you are. I think you're trying to say that the two things are connected together, like cinematography of games. So why not have everything be nice and consistent. And I mean, it does have a couple of cool effects going for it, like these little bits of shadows and stuff coming forward. That's nice. You're never going to notice them, though. Or the only thing... Well, you might... okay, that does pop out a little bit, but... Is this a case where it could be to do with could do without the text? Yeah, I think you could almost pull this off without text. The thing would then be, though, how do you get across the fact that this thumbnail is about cinematography? And the one way you could do it is by maybe you could put it in a viewfinder window, or like say you could put like maybe the character standing next to a big old director's camera. Again, like I think I did. There isn't enough depth without text though. Yeah, that's true. And like you do want a little bit of depth in an image because again you want to pull people's eyes into it, and that's one of the main ways to do so. But well, let me have a quick look at another thing that I did for Eurothug, which might kind of explain where I'm coming from a little bit. So with this one, it's almost it's not a game, it's a bit of a visual joke because it's about video game photography, and the icon is somebody taking a photograph of a video game. You could take the text out of that and you would like that with the text alongside it. Bang it, yeah, you get it immediately. And like with this, it was purely like Maria that mostly had the idea in place with this. She gave me the Death Stranding assets, and then it was basically up to me to like bring text into it. Those ISO and like camera elements that was something I made in Illustrator. It didn't take very long. The camera was a photo that I just polished up a tiny bit, and yeah, like bam, you immediately get what this is about. It is the art of video game photography of can we take real world photography and apply it to video games kind of thing. Bingo bango. Like, which maybe something like that would work for this. Like, rather than having text be a part of it, you could have it just be like that. Thank you, much appreciated. I like making fun. It's actually taking photos of text and next level freaking shit. Yeah, and again, like it's a little visual joke. Essentially, it's that it's in the background. That is what it's taking a photo of, and Jacques got a little bit of that as well, where he has integrated his text into the scene to the point that it is casting a shadow. But let me throw in a quick adjustment layer as well and quickly check something. Okay, yeah. No, because I kept looking over at that A and I was like, what's something about it that's not quite doing right for me? And I think it is just the fact that it's not blending too much, but it is getting a bit lost in the darkness by there. Like, again, it's not a bad thumbnail at all. It's just like maybe like there was maybe 2 more steps that you could take with it to just get it up to like supreme quality level, and that would just be a little bit of, and that's purely layout. Like there's nothing wrong with the idea of the thumbnail itself. It is just purely placement and stuff like that. Maybe knock down maybe make the background a tiny bit darker, maybe make the text consistent font style, or face type across it. Try and get everything to a nice line. Better use of fonts, better use of light and contrast. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, not a lot of stuff that you need to do for it. I'll have a good look at you. So, very personal, emotional content, I'd say. The player is the focus of the channel instead of what is being played. Mental health and da-da-da. Like, again, with this one, it's not so much about... neither of these ones are kind of getting to the point of what the stuff you want to cover is. I think more in your case, the big video for you is the one of... I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know the thumbnail. It's the one of the faces in the clouds, essentially. I don't think it's so much an issue that like everything about your channel's thesis isn't coming through in a thumbnail, because at the end of the day, a point of a thumbnail is just to it's to advertise the channel. It's to sell. You know, it's somebody can look at it and go, "Wow, like what's this about? Pull me in." But then, you know, for the stuff that you make, which is going to be a little bit more, yeah, how games teach empathy. Yeah, that's the video that I'm thinking of, and. I think that one does quite a nice job, but my only issue with that is that I'm trying to think of a nice way of putting this, because I don't want this to come off like incorrect, but essentially it's kind of like how video games teach empathy. If I'm John YouTube and I've logged on for the day and I'm like, okay, I want to watch some videos, and you know, I'm open-minded, I would want to watch a video about that. I would look at that thumbnail and I would see the faces in the clouds, and like my kind of first thought would be, is this about like a black and white film, or is this about something else? Like I would want to see maybe one of the video games that you're talking about in the thumbnail itself, because the point of it, like enduring empathy, is that like somebody is looking at a screen, they are engaging with this content, and you know, that's what's getting them across the line. I haven't watched the video yet, but like what kind of, like what sort of like video games do you cover? Like stuff like Senua's Sacrifice, or you know, like Night in the Woods and stuff like that. I think like anything which has like a really evocative character in it or something like that, that, you know, I know it's kind of silly, you know, it's that classic YouTube thing of, you know, putting somebody's, the problem was there's a lot of games we covered. Right. No, that's, so like, I know the classic YouTube thing is like, you know, somebody's big old face like in the thumbnail, like, oh I can't believe that happened in Minecraft. Oh, you know, like I'm shocked at what Logan Paul did. But people like looking at faces. Faces, like that is the first, like our brains are hardwired to find faces in everything. Like 2 dots and a curved line looks like a smiley face. And I don't think there's anything wrong with putting a nice big face front and center of that sort of stuff. And you do have 2 faces in the thumbnail itself in the cloud, but again, it's like I'm looking at it and I'm kind of like, are they like from the video game that you talk, like, you know, what, like it's, you know, it's interesting because again, somebody might look at that and go, oh, I'm not sure what this is, like, let me click on the video and find out more. But yeah, I guess it could just be a thing of find like maybe like one of the games that you talk about, maybe find like the most interesting character from that and put them front and center. Again, like I think if I was more business minded and I was like, okay, if you in this to build viewers, you would pick the face of a video game character that is going to be either the most recognizable or is currently the most popular, and you would put them front and center. But I think for the kind of videos you want to make, you shouldn't really be thinking of that anyways. Like you kind of want to build something where that kind of empathy is like front and center. So, oh, hello Joystick Drummer, welcome to the stream. Hey, yeah, baby. Sorry, that threw me off my track again. I think the thumbnail as it is currently works, but I would think of maybe saying, how can I, you know, take this to the, you know, how, if I was somebody who was logging on to YouTube for the day, like, what would get me to look at that thumbnail? And I think it's, you know, the actual thumbnail itself, it kind of, you know, it's kind of grey, sort of low contrasty with faces and stuff like that. I was thinking about putting Ellie's face on, but we don't talk about it. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I wouldn't. If she's not in the video, don't lie with your thumbnails. That's the main thing as well. Don't be lying about that stuff, because people get very annoyed when you put something in a thumbnail that isn't actually in the video. I think it's more egregious if you put it in the title of a video and yet it doesn't actually appear in the video. But I don't know, maybe I might watch the video later, and like if there's a particular game in it that jumped out at me of like, oh, this could be like front and center of what you're talking about, maybe I'll mention that. But I think, just going back to your point, Surf, So analysing how games make us feel things, making the viewer comprehend why I feel the way I do about a game by connecting 1 and 2. I do think that the stuff you're doing now is getting that point across, but I think it could just be down to maybe the videos you're making aren't like, they don't all have that mission statement in mind, which I think is absolutely fine. Like, at the end of the day, you know, I don't know how long you've been making videos for. I mean, I've been making videos for like the past 5 or so years, and like, I'm not really interested in being like pigeonholed in one, like I want to be that, like, which I think if you talk to say like Raz, or like I think Mark Brown kind of gave this advice in a, I can't remember where it was, but it's essentially like the channels that do the best are the ones that have completely figured themselves out, but almost to a detriment. Like, they make videos purely in one lane. And I think like right now you have that flexibility to sort of, you know, jam your way forward and figure something out. But again, maybe they all have this kind of empathetic element to it. And in regards to maybe working that into all your thumbnails, I think that could be down to like your choice of color scheme. You could use like an LUT or a gradient map or something to make sure that they've all kind of got a consistent tone to them. Your choice of font, your choice of like layout and stuff like that. There's a few ways that you could do it, and I think right now you're not like, I think you're nearly there in regards to kind of figuring out your style of stuff, and all this stuff will. And again, going back to saying, you know, do I watch the videos before I make the thumbnails for them to like make sure that the theme like is on point? That stuff will feed into your videos as well. Like, your output will match the input in a weird way. So, I don't know if that's covered all the points you maybe want. I don't know if that was all immediately helpful, but I guess, yeah. So far, all good. You're doing okay. You're doing okay, but yeah, there are a few but you know, you did ask for feedback, so I think it's a lot. Ha ha ha. I mean, hey, that'll be what the VOD is for. But I think so far it's just a matter of maybe. It is helpful. Well, thank you. I think you're on the right track. I think stuff like, you know, the cinema, this one, it's just like a tiny bit of layout fixing. That's it. I think in regards to like maybe a grander point of, I don't know if my videos are completely getting across the points I want to make. I don't worry about that too much so far. I think the images that you use and the style of font and images that you will use, that will be what gets the point across. And that will just purely be down to looking at the images that you're working with, reading the scripts and going, what, you know, boiling your script down essentially to a elevator pitch of what is this video about, or more so like, what did I learn in why did I want to make this? You know, don't say it as like, because I know a lot of people say, why are you making this? Like, are you the right person to make this video? I don't agree with that at all, but I think the one thing you should come out of it saying is, what did I learn while making this video? And like, you know, what initially made me interested in the subject matter? Like, what's the important thing that I would like somebody to walk away with? And you could usually boil that down to like maybe 3 or 4 words, or like a sentence or something. And like, that becomes what you make a thumbnail from. Is that, like, say cinematography in games, like, I haven't seen the video, but like, it might be down to, you know, video games are an interactive medium, but we still use 4-word rule. Like, that's something that Game Maker's Toolkit understands in his thumbnails, and I think in his videos, which is sell your video in 4 words or less. Yeah. Thank you. None of this is original. This is all, like I said, good artist copy, and purely this is all stuff that I've seen from elsewhere. How do you know when to step away from a thumbnail? Like when to stop making small adjustments, etc., and decide it's done? Good question. I think setting artificial deadlines, I think, is always useful. Like, say to yourself, I am going to dedicate 2 hours to making a thumbnail, and in 2 hours' time, I'm going to check it and make sure it's done. And maybe in 2 hours' time, you'll look at it and you'll say, oh, I just need to move the text a little bit or whatever, or, you know, change some of the colours. Or in 2 hours' time, you might get to a place of, I could just make a completely different thumbnail, or let's just go with this. And I think, like, it kind of helps when you're working with somebody else, because they'll have, like, an idea in mind of, say, you know, you're getting there, but it's not quite what I wanted. But then you can say to them, okay, well, using this thumbnail as a basis, what about it do you like, and what about it would you change, essentially? Like, what is this doing that, what is this not doing that you want, essentially? Because it's always easier to give feedback when you have something to bounce off. I know there's the classic line of, people know what they want, people don't know what they want, but they know what they don't want. But knowing what you don't want is a good place to start figuring out what you want, essentially. You know, it's guess who. You just start knocking away stuff, and then eventually you figure that stuff out. So, in regards to, like, when something is done, I think it's like, does it hit the main points of, does it look good? Does it, you know, is all the important information there? Is, you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't think enough people do illustrated stuff in their thumbnails, and I think it's really, like, you know, people always look at trends and stuff in regards to, like, what's going to be the next big thing. Illustrated stuff, I think that's a market. I don't want to say market because I'm not a business person, but I think that's something that nobody's really tapped into in a really interesting way, especially in this space. And yeah, absolutely, if you're trying to get across an emotional aspect, that would, yeah, babe. Oh, thank you, Jack. I think if you are trying to get an emotional point across that you're not going to get any, I mean, yeah, faces are the windows to the soul, essentially. That's where you get your emotion. But drawn stuff is like Picasso. It is how, you know, how you see the world and how you, like, perceive stuff. And that is the best way of getting that point across. That being said, drawn stuff has its own completely different set of issues of working within a particular thumbnail size. Like, you need to make sure that I found somebody who does illustration for me. Wish I could ask them to do more often with it. And again, that's the thing. It's like, you either spend the money to commission somebody to do it yourself, or you spend your own time or money learning to do it yourself. So that's, you know. And I think in Zolti's case, he's quite lucky to have built his own illustration skills. So, you know, he could feed that into his own thumbnails. I do drawn stuff now and again. Like, I post on, like, Twitter and DeviantArt, whatever. I think the only thumbnail that I made, which was, yeah, baby. Oh, thank you, Chris. Thanks for the follow. The only thing that I did which had drawn, that I actually drew was, gosh, where is it? It was an oldish one, so, there it is. So I did this, so originally I had a thumbnail for, like, a video where I was comparing Banjo-Kazooie and, like, Super Mario 64 together. But, like, in the video I used, like, little illustrations and stuff, because I think I wanted to match the kind of, like, you know, like, Banjo-Kazooie almost has kind of like a toy, like, it's sort of a storybook tone to it, while Mario 64 is almost kind of like toyetic, like it's a little thing that you open up and then you have a look at, you know, and poke around with it. And so in the actual video itself, it had illustrations, but I'll show you the do I have the original thumbnail for it? Maybe I don't. The original thumbnail for it was, yeah, here it is. So here's what it originally looked like, which is fine, but it hasn't really got a lot of character. It is just big promo image. You put one in the blue corner and the red corner, and they put a nice big V in the middle of it, and it's like, wow, Banjo on this side, Mario on this side. You know, it doesn't have any. Could have put a little bit of a drop shadow on it to make the text bounce a little bit more. Yeah, it's like, it's not winning any beauty prizes, that's for sure. But it's fine, you know, tells, what was the video about? It is about comparing Banjo-Kazooie to Super Mario 64. And I almost did it in a competitive way of... Well, that was the thing, Joe, was that the tone of the video was like, one does something better than the other. The original video was literally saying that Banjo-Kazooie has aged like milk, while Super Mario 64 has aged really well. But then when I was writing it, and I was... Like, this was at a time where I kind of was still, like, shooting a lot of my scripts over to people to be like, oh, can you check the tone of it? A few people that I was sending it to were very much like, I think you're not really giving Banjo-Kazooie a fair shake. Like, you're basically treating it as, the man from space who's like, I don't understand why this was popular. This shouldn't have been popular. So I was like, okay, well, let's go back to it and figure out what it was about it that did so well. And... so at the point that I came to was that Super Mario 64 is aged better because it's more... It's not more mechanically refined, but essentially there's more that you can do with its moves than with Banjo-Kazooie. While Banjo-Kazooie was way more popular at the time because it just looks a million times better than Super... Like... Both are poggers. They're both poggers in very different ways, though. And it's funny because a lot of people will say Banjo is better than Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 is better than Banjo. Banjo looks better than the Mario 64, but Banjo doesn't have the long jump in it. So that's it. But yeah, and I think the thumbnail that I went with here was, again, I think was pushing more of the competitive aspects of it, which almost I think is a bit off-putting to people. Is like, well, I like both. What's the problem like with that? Which is why I ended up changing the name of it to Banjo and Mario. Because actually, I think in the video itself it says, I think it's called like Banjo and Mario Prescription for Platform Games. And yeah, Mitch, you'd remember it because there's a bit in the video where it's like, hey, how did people evolve on this? And then I fucking like cut straight to Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and it's Tony Hawk is Super Mario 64 but with a high score system in it and like all that sort of stuff. But and like the illustrations were designed to look like the illustrations that I did in the video, which I did those myself. Like they're fine. I think they're okay. They're going exactly for the tone that I wanted. I drew a picture of Grant Kirkhope in the video, which is terrifying. So if you want to go and have a look at that, it's available on YouTube. Now him over there, I'm gonna mention him a little bit later on when we talk about other people's vids, because in Banjo with poggers in the way that when you put on a jacket and you reach into the pocket and find a single loose breath mint from last year, you think, oh huh. Yeah, I think Banjo-Kazooie is like the best game that you could play like without knowing anything about it. There's the Super Mario 64, which I think the first time you play it is fine, but I think it's one of those things that gets better the more you play it and the more you start to fart around with it. Like, oh, I think, and I do this in every single video I do about Super Mario 64, but my one go-to example of it that anybody at home can do is you go to Womp's Fortress, and the third star is Shoot into the Wild Blue, which is a star on a floating platform next to a wall. And the idea is that you talk to the pink bob-on man and you say, and he says, oh, I'll open the cannon for you. And the idea is that you need to line up the cannon to shoot Mario onto the platform. And the challenge of it is, oh, this is tough. Like, how do I, get him onto the, if I shoot it too much, he's going to fall off. But you can also just go to where the platform is and do a tricky side jump into a kick flip, into a wall kick, and just get it that way. And like when you're a kid, you don't think to do that because like wall kicks are really hard to do, and like doing that particular motion of like a side flip, you might not know how to do that unless you've got the manual like right next to you. But like that's a quicker way and an actual safer way of doing that star. And you're like, oh, that's great. Like, oh, like everything's gonna be like this. I'm just gonna open up so much more of Super Mario 64. Banjo doesn't have that though. Like Banjo has you solve every problem exactly the prescribed way that the developers intended. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, shooting slides and cannons, like the fun. Like fucking Super Mario 64 could have been a game all about slides and cannons, and it would have sold exactly the same number of copies. It wouldn't be as fondly remembered, but it's, you know, it's good shit. Like, and like Banjo's got a tiny bit of that. Like the flying in Banjo's fun. It's not as satisfying as it is in Mario, but it's just nice being able to fly wherever you want. Like that's cool. Turning into like submarines and shit in Tui, like that's cool. Like, oh, I've got a completely different game now. I've got a underwater submarine game. This is great. Or I've got a like, you know, something else. But I love games with expressive movement systems that can use a lot of unexpected and even unanticipated ways. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think when I was a kid, I was way more into like variety show stuff, which is like Banjo, because like Banjo Tooie is the ultimate example of that. But I think as I've gotten older, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Snake. Good luck with Dokapon. I hope it's not overly miserable. Thank you. Yeah, I've just become like way more interested in just way like bigger only a few simple controls that you can do way more with them. Essentially, I think like Tony Hawk is the best example of that. Like the game is built completely around that aspect. Is you only have like 4 buttons to do tricks, but you can chain them together. They have different effects on different surfaces. You know, I think Devil May Cry is probably like the ultimate example of that, but I'm not a massive fan of Devil May Cry, unfortunately. So I guess I'll never know about that. But hey ho. Right, enough about that. We need to move on to some new other thumbnails, because otherwise I'll just be talking about nonsense for the rest of the evening. So, who else did send a form? Who else sent a form to be thingy? Let's put on display capture again. Pim, you're next. Which is good because we were having a chat earlier about your thumb stuff. So what is your name? Pim. Would you like me to review your channel's branding? Yes. Your thumbnails? You sent me a big old list of thumbnails, which is great. What is your channel's vibe/goals? The channel mainly focuses on video essays about horror media. Films, games, books, whatever. Sometimes I make videos about other topics though. What about your thumbnail branding do you like? I like it when I can keep it simple. Not much stuff on the thumbnail, but enough that it pops, whether with the use of colours or text. Brackets, the Rachel Foster thumbnail, for example. I think the Rachel Foster thumbnail is also a really good one, which is interesting because I watched a bit of Raz's stream earlier to get an example of how I should be doing this stream, and he said exactly the same thing, so there we go. But what makes you uncertain about your thumbs or branding? I want my thumbnails to feel more consistent, regardless of the topic. I want it to be easy to read that the thumb is one of my videos. I have a red and black frame that I'm using currently, but I don't think it really works. Yep, we talked about this earlier in the week, and yeah, let's you don't mind me bringing up the stuff that you sent, because I know you have changed your stuff since, so yeah, let's bring up Rich Foster, there you are. Oh yeah, let me there we go. Let's have a look at that one as well, and let's have a look at that one as well. Cool, I'll have a quick look at your new stuff as well. So yeah, like, this is a great thumbnail because, as you said, like, you're aiming for simple but effective, and that is exactly what this is. And you know, I look at this and I don't know anything about the suicide of Rachel Foster, but one thing that you do with your thumbnails that a lot of people don't do, which I would absolutely recommend to everybody who's here, don't think that the text that's in your title needs to match the text in your thumbnail. In fact, what I quite like about this one is that it's almost like it's not a joke, but you use like the title of the thumbnail to set up one part of it. So you set your video title to do one thing, and then the thumbnail is almost kind of like a different thing. So it'd be like if you had a video which is X any good, and then like the thumbnail is X is bad or something like that. And I know a lot of people might say, oh, you shouldn't do that because you shouldn't answer the question of a headline before they actually read the article. But I think there's ways that you can mess around with that. Like you could have it so reviewing X something something, and then the thumbnail X is interesting, or X is, why is X good, or like, is X any good, or whatever like that. And like with this, you kind of, you're saying your title of, reviewing the suicide of Rachel Foster, and like, it's not very good. And then just, big old picture of her, big old piece of text that says don't. You are immediately getting across that, the work that you're reviewing is despicable or just shouldn't be engaged with, essentially. And that is your starting thesis with the rest of the video. And that is completely communicated through this thumbnail. It is, it is spot on, essentially. Now, with one of these ones, I quite like this one. I mean, yeah, you were saying earlier that you have somebody who does your somebody who can illustrate, and I assume this is who you got to do this one. This is cool. I would say probably the only changes I would make is that I would make it bigger. So like, maybe even change the layout a little bit so you're a little bit bigger in the middle, and then you have this stuff rather than surrounding you in that kind of diamond formation, which is what it is at the moment. You could almost have it so like, the diamond's a little bit bigger. So like, this fella's still here, but he could be over here, and that could be over there and over there. And then maybe, yeah, like the text could sit right smack bang in the middle then, which again, like that's where people's eyes will automatically go, is right to the middle. And you can put that right in the center then. I mean, even then, like the image itself, it could be edited in such a way that because that is in the middle, that this guy could be at the top, you're at the bottom, and then that stuff is to the side as well. Again, much like Zolt, a lot like Zolt, there isn't a few, you don't like have to throw this out and start again. Like there's only a few things you could do to just bring that up to like that level of really, sparkling quality. But I think the only thing I would say about it is that like these elements where you kind of got it, you've played around with the translucency and transparency, I don't know how well that, you're just gonna struggle with reading some of that stuff when you get a little bit smaller. Like it looks cool, but I always think text is one of those things, like purely from an accessibility point of view, you shouldn't mess around with it too much. Like pick a cool font, maybe put a tiny bit of stuff like in the front, but you still kind of want people to be able to like pick that stuff out. But I mean, this is cool. Like that's cool framing. You got those two people who, they almost create a little bit of a corridor to whatever this thing is. Like I'd maybe move the text a little bit further up to have it a little bit more in the middle. But again, the image itself is really nice because it has this kind of natural. The text on that one didn't really work as well as I wanted to, I feel. Yeah. The cool thing about this. The colours are really cool about it as well. And the really cool thing about this is that the image itself has this natural vignette to it, which, again, if you've never made a thumbnail before and like you just kind of want some tips of a way that you can lead somebody's eyes, always a little vignette always goes a long way. And a vignette is something as simple as like we can make one in Photoshop in a second, in like 10 seconds. So bam, 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 bam. Yeah, baby. He's following. I'm gonna have to check he's following me. Bammo. That is how quickly. Oh, thank you, Zeggy TV. That's how you make a vignette, and immediately your eyes are just pulled immediately right into the middle of things. Yeah, the colours are really cool though. Like, you have this natural, these two pink guys who your eyes are immediately drawn right to them. You got like pink, blue, and purple are always like, the kind of this quite trendy at the moment. Like a lot of branding and a lot of YouTube stuff is kind of going that way at the moment. But like with this, yeah, just it's almost kind of like a CYMK thing, which is, you know, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black for printing. And I think like the closer you can get to those three core colors, like a lot of that stuff really pops off. I mean, it's one of those things that I end up I agree with some amendments from the previous one. I have to say it looks really good. Like, I haven't seen the video, but I would definitely be drawn to it if it showed up on my feed. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, none of these things I think are they're not bad at all. Like I said, there's very little you'd have to do to bring it up to 100%, and sometimes you don't really need to. Like, if it works, it works. So, like, I'm sorry, I just saw myself like that. I think, yeah, purely you could just work with that as a basis, and yeah, like, I think it works absolutely fine. But let's have a quick look at some of your new stuff, because I think you've done some really good stuff with this. Is it in my messages? It is. Sorry for showing my private messages. Yeah, let's have a quick look at this one, because I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, like, you absolutely have got the idea of like branding. I want people to have a look at a thumbnail and know immediately it is me. Yeah, and you've done that here. You've gone with a consistent font. You've gone with a consistent style of, like, text will always be on a red background. Red is your main color that you're working with all of this stuff, and then any deviations from the fact, like, this guy's glowing yellow eyes, like, is making a point. Again, he has glowing eyes because he is an evil android, and this is about, you know, horror games and stuff like that. I'm going to imagine as well. Can I? I can't download it. That's okay. I'll just do this. Don't do that. Whoa, you're that guy's a bot. I need to get rid of him. Hold up. Damn, how do I do that? Yeah, get out of here. You're banned, buddy. There we go. Be gone. Get out of here. Again, yeah, we shrink that down. That's readable. We can, like, see that. No AIs allowed. Get out of here. No. Yeah, baby. Oh, thank you very much, JM. Yeah, very nice, very readable. You could, I don't know, I would maybe knock down the gradient a tiny bit, but like, that is purely it. Yeah, like, this is just really cool. Like, I get it. You know, like, I'll look at this and I'll know, oh, it's a Pim video. Like, I want to see what they're talking about, and it's cool. And I don't think like, if you went off brand a tiny bit, like if you changed maybe the red to a blue, if you were talking about something else, or like you tweak the, I don't think it would matter, because you still got this cool layout that you're doing, and you've still got this kind of style with all the other stuff that is still, like, even if you break brand for a tiny bit to make a point, it still works. Like, we still know your Pim. But here's the thing, though, that I was gonna, using your stuff as an example and kind of going into a wider point, which is quite a few people who have sent me a message have said that one of the things that they want is that they want people to look at their thumbnails and know that this person has made it. This person has, they were the, it's one of their videos, and I want to know that immediately from looking at it. Funny enough, watching Raz's stream, somebody made a counterpoint to what I was about to say, but I'm going to try and come up with a good reason for why you should do this. Don't be afraid to maybe have a little logo or a little icon on your stuff if you want it to be people to know that it is your brand. Yeah. And I know a lot of people would say that you shouldn't do that if you're a small channel because it's a little bit like it either comes across as, oh, is this part of a series that like I'm not going to get that from watching one video. If one were to go in a completely different direction in terms of mood for a video, should one prioritize their own aesthetics with branding versus impactful thumbnail meant to? If one were to go in a completely different direction in terms of a mood for a video, should one prioritize their own aesthetics with branding? From a purely personal standpoint, I would say the latter. I think branding is important, but getting across, like, if your branding is going to come at a cost of getting that point across, you should always go with creating something which is fitting of the video itself. Like, at the end of the day, like, branding is an important oh, okay. Thank you for being here, Zolti. I hope I was helpful with the feedback that I gave you, and hopefully we'll do this again soon and maybe look at some more thumbnails. Yeah, so like Lord Mandalore is a good example, but like all of his videos are very like consistent across the board. Like Lord Mandalore isn't like, he does reviews of like PC games and like all sorts of stuff, but he very rarely like strikes out and maybe would do an essay or do like something a bit more personal. I mean, maybe he has. I haven't seen all of his content, but everything is kind of consistent in a package of like. Yeah, I was thinking of this. And Reykjavik is one of those people who I think because his channel is so big, he could literally just put his name right in the thumbnail and it's like, oh, I'm watching this because there's a Reykjavik video. Well, if I was new to YouTube and I didn't know who he was, I'd be like, is that the name of the game? Is that like something that happens in the game? Like, I'm not sure, but I think it's interesting though. Yeah, like Jacob. So Jacob is a perfect example of that, where you would look at his videos and like all the thumbnails fit whatever topic he's talking about. I mean, I should know because I make half of them, but like there is nothing about them that is specifically like it doesn't have a J and a G in the corner. But I think if you're worried about your branding coming through, I don't think there's anything wrong with putting just a tiny little logo in the corner. I mean, that is why I mentioned one of my videos, not showing Snake's one here. I'm not making a point about Snake's one, okay? Load up. So like with this, I just did the little Games D logo in the corner by here, and it doesn't detract from the thumbnail. It's not there to like, you know, make it like you are watching this because it is a Games D video. Like that is why it only takes up what, a 20th the thumbnail, but it's there just because I like a little bit of consistency across all the thumbnails, and like the idea in my head is that they're all part of the series called Games D, which is, you know, games design, games development, and whatever, which and that idea was purely lifted from Game Maker's Toolkit, that every single GMTK video has the GMTK logo in the corner. And I think that is fine. I think if you are so maybe having a key thing that can fit in any mood, like a fun, and deviating with anything else is to reflect the mood. Oh, thank you very much, Pim. Yeah, I would say so. I think first things first, if you're going like, if you have a channel and your whole point, and again, this is something that like Raz and like Game Maker's Toolkit has said, which is that out of the gate you need to know what is the channel about, what is your USP. Yeah, I think the branding thing might hurt initially, but as you establish yourself, it will help recognizability. Yeah, exactly. I think first things first, you should think about the best thumbnail to sell the video that you are making, because initially you're not really selling the channel, you're selling the videos that you're making. And then as you get consistency of releasing new videos, you then push more of the channel aspects of saying, hey, if you like these 3 videos, you should subscribe to me because I am the person who makes them. And keep in mind, the nice thing about thumbnails is that they're not set in stone. they are complete. I think you're probably right, heavy-eyed. Yeah. The thing about thumbnails is that you can replace them at any time. You can change them to better reflect either maybe after the fact you've kind of come to a point of your video where say, oh, actually there was more about this, like I've kind of figured out more about this. So like as your channel gets bigger, oh, I want people to know that like some of my older videos, they were made by me, so let's put a tiny bit of branding on them. Or, to be really skeevy, you can change the thumbnails if a particular game that you covered ages ago has now become popular again. So you can kind of push that stuff as well. But yeah, it's interesting because like I think early on, if you have a really good idea about what your USP is or what you're doing, I think having your own little bit of branding in a video is fine. But again, it doesn't have to be as obvious as a tiny logo over in the corner like here. It doesn't even have to be a logo. Like with what Pim's done, it can just be consistency across thumbnails. It can be, you know, a particular font, it can be a particular colour and a particular look. But those rules can be broken as, you know, you may come up with a video that isn't particularly on brand. Like I think Blink's the Time Sweeper is probably going to be a good example of that, where your usual horror thumbnail probably won't fit for that, but you can still have that, you know, that blue banner with some text on top of it, you know, maybe go with a different edging or something like that, and, you know, same kind of layout, character in the middle, kind of darkness around the outside. It's, you know, there's a few different ways that you can approach it, and, you know, I don't think there's any wrong answer to it, essentially. So, I don't know, I'm just trying to think if there's any other things that I haven't mentioned. Like I said though, I think much like Zolti, you're thanks Zeki. I think much like Zolti, you're pretty much there. It is just like, you know, tiny bits of polish here and there, and then that's kind of it. But like with this new rebranding exercise you've done, you know, I like this stuff a bit more than the, you know, some of your older stuff. But like, I think don't be afraid as well to kind of break format when it best fits the topic that you're covering. But don't know if any of that feedback was helpful or not. But yeah, there you go, I guess. Thank you for submitting your thumbnails and letting me show them off on stream. Okay. So we've got a tiny bit of beer left, which is nice. So, Who was next, though? Who was next in the... thank you. Who is next in the responses? Yep. Wizawhat is next. So, would you like me to review your channel's branding? This one, yep. Put you on board, yep. What is your channel's vibe/goals? Video essays about... Yeah, Wizzy here. Don't know if he's in the chat or not, though. He might have to watch this on VOD otherwise. Also, wow, I'm nearly up to 2 hours. I've literally thought that I was going to burn through all of these in like 20 minutes. That's actually kind of good. I literally, in case this had gone on, like, if I burned through everything too quickly, I was going to, like, I don't know, play like a game or something, but... I mean, I guess we can see what happens. I mean, maybe if this... Because I think my plan was I was going to do this for maybe about 3 or 4 hours. I could take this to 3 hours and then maybe play something. But, yeah, we'll have a think. So, yeah, I probably... some of the extra responses that I got, I might do that another time. Probably not going to do it on the weekend, though, because I imagine a lot of people will be pretty busy. So I'm thinking I might do a Thursday or a Tuesday night next time. That'll be quite good. Or maybe even a Wednesday night. So, but... What is your channel's vibes or goals? Video essays about personal experiences with games. I like to have each thumbnail feel like a unique piece rather than part of a whole. What about your thumbs brand? Do you like? Been experimenting with colour usage to make things pop more, and I like what I've accomplished. I like how I've used all the space efficiently, or effectively. What makes you uncertain about your thumbs branding? I don't really have a background in design, and while I'm pretty happy with what I've done, I don't feel like my designs lack the polish of experienced designers I look up to. I'm also worried about the same type of design being repeated too much and feeling samey across my channel. So, unique issue here. Not so much. Wiz has kind of figured out what he's aiming for and what he wants, but he just needs a little bit, some tips and tricks to bring it a little bit further up. So, let's bring his stuff in. Let's have a quick look at it. Okay, Coke. So, Super Mario. Let's have a look at this FOMO. Yeah, nicely brightly coloured, which is somebody thinks he's doing well. Which, yeah, I would absolutely say it is very eye-catching. It is. One thing about its simplicity is that it is super readable, as small as you make it, which is very nice. But yeah, I just think in the case of this one, like, it is absolutely fine, but I mean, there are places it could be improved. Text is a little bit squashed, so I mean, we could pull that in a little bit, make it a bit more on brand. The text itself as well could be put a little bit, taking a little bit less from the edge and put like slightly more over here. We can do things like add a little bit of vignetting around the sides, so your eyes are naturally drawn over to this stuff by here, and it makes it just look a little bit more 3D. We can even do stuff like gradient maps and all that cool stuff to give it a particular nice and consistent stylish look. That background we can maybe replace with clouds or something from the Super Mario games. Like, again, it is absolutely fine. It is, one of those things that absolutely does the job that it needs to. It's just, if we wanted to maybe improve it in a couple of meaningful ways, it's just tidying it up, essentially. It's taking it and taking it all the way up to 100% and so, which, hey, it's nothing, literally nothing that can't be done in a couple of seconds in Photoshop, as we are likely seeing here. Oh no, don't do that. Don't create a content away from that. But and again, with this, it's just purely a tiny bit of your spacing, just a tiny bit of your formatting. At the end of the day, the text is very much falling into your eyes are being led exactly where they need to be. We know exactly what we're talking about. Super Mario. It's just, the background could be, clouds. It could be something a little bit more exciting. Maybe we could have gone with a different render or something like that. But I think purely it does sell exactly what it needs to. I wouldn't immediately look at it and say that I know that it's one of Wiz's videos, but then obviously I'd look to the side and maybe see that it is, and I would also see the title associated with it, which I don't think it's so much that his video probably isn't called The Best Mario. It's called, why Super Mario 64 is the best at something, or why is Super Mario 64 the best, and then it has this nice title with it. And I mean, you don't really need to explain that this is Super Mario 64 because of that iconic render that it has. But again, it's just little things that could be fixed with this. You could stick you don't really need a drop shadow because the Super Mario font has one already built in. You put a tiny glow around Mario or something like that, but again, it's absolutely fine. Other than that, it's just simple, really. And if that goes along with the channel branding, then that is absolutely that. And again, it's kind of the same with this one as well, where the text is a tiny bit aliased, which, yeah, babe. There you are. Hello, Wiz. finally, we're talking about your thumbnails, which I don't know if totally all my feedback's going to be off base with this, but I'm trying my best. But Steve, I farted around with your Mario thumbnail, and in fairness, there wasn't anything really to fart around with. Purely, it was just like moving sort of where the text was and all that kind of stuff. But oh yeah, no, this one's really nice. Like, it's a cool color scheme. It's a nice big old image by here. You could pull the, I don't know, you could pull the text in like just a tiny bit, like, and then do like, nice little vignette, something around the edges, but does it even really need it? Like, again, it's just, you want to draw your eyes where, the stuff is important, but I mean, this does it just because it's so simple, really. I mean, she's playing Overwatch right now. She is very busy. I see. Yeah, it's fine. They're all fine. I mean, they could be. I mean, the only thing I would say about them, and it's just purely personal preferences. I mean, they could be a bit more exciting, I guess, and that's purely just use different images or just pull something else in. But that's probably, I like the idea that the vignette. Yeah, exactly. And again, those are just really small changes you could make, and that's just purely down to, you want your text not so close to the edges. You want them to just be a little bit more readable and stuff like that. And again, a vignette is always going to draw your eye closer to where it needs to be as well. You can throw on little colour filters and whatever to, make yourself pop a little bit more, give it a bit more of a warmer colour if that's what you're aiming for and stuff like that. But that's the thing, I feel like they lack a little exciting elements. Yeah. So like with this, I mean, the video's about the farming, Stardew Valley. And living another life, and yeah, I get the idea is that, this sprite is the in-game avatar of who you are. Well, that's cool, but why not also stick, say, the Stardew Valley background behind him, and then maybe have this text on like a big sign or something like that to really ram home the point of, this is my avatar in this world. Or maybe even having him in the middle, and then have a big old vista behind him and have the text like a movie poster or a game cover or something like that, like living another life or whatever. Which, yeah, I mean, if you want to make him a bit more exciting, I mean, that would just be kind of what my ideas would be. Just look at some posters, look at some game box art and stuff. I mean, I think I posted on Twitter maybe earlier in the week or last week, but one of the things, one of my big old style points for what I think I base most of my thumbnails on are copies of Edge and magazine. Cyrus is amazing at those little choices that help something stand out on the FF thumbnail. He added in some splashes of colour that works so much better than just having the standard one on that. Yeah, and yeah, I had trouble getting a farming background to work, so that's the screen grab I've seen on the screen, but it's indistinguishable. Yeah, I mean, it's just purple sky with some stars in it. You wouldn't. Edge magazine covers that very good. You wouldn't know that that's from. I'm only guessing. I mean, this might actually not be from Stardew Valley, but I'm guessing it is, and that's just purely based on, how your avatar looks. But, and again, with that sort of, it's kind of, if you are hampered by, the assets that you have and the skills that you have, then yeah, it's a lot tougher to maybe get those ideas across. So I guess, I don't know, the advice, I mean, it's quite tough to give advice on this, because it's kind of well, if you want to get your thumbnails to the next level, it's just a bit more about just learning Photoshop, essentially, which, it isn't, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say it isn't difficult because it's getting a bit late here in Sweden, so I will have to go. But thank you so much more for the feedback. I'll be checking the video. Okay, well, thank you for being here, Pim, and thank you for being such a good sport as well. And yeah, like I said, your thumbnail stuff is getting really good. So yeah, I think I might just need to do some Photoshop workshops. Yeah, I've been using Photoshop since I was like 8, and I'm turning 30 in April, so like I've got 22 years of experience of using Photoshop, so this is just purely like stuff that I know. And even then, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, like, those are skills that are outside of Photoshop. Like layout design is part of graphic design, you know, being able to manipulate photos and like draw new graphics and stuff. Those are completely different skill sets as well, and it's one of those things that it's like, it's very difficult to, you know, jack of all trades and stuff like that, which, you know, especially in YouTube stuff where you have to really hyper specify it. Like, I think with my videos, like, one thing that I get praise on is that, you know, the thumbnails are really nice, but like my editing's really good. But on the flip side, I don't think like my writing isn't as good as, say, like Jacob's stuff at all. Like, he's a completely another level above me. But in his case, he worked for Game Informer for like a year and was able to take those skill sets out and apply them to his own videos. Noah Cowboy Gervais is exactly the same. He has a background in, you know, being a games journalist, and he was able to apply that to his own videos, versus I wouldn't go to him for editing or for like motion graphics or whatever, but he has honed his particular thing. But obviously being a full package is great. Being able to have nice thumbnails and yeah, exactly. Being able to have like nice graphics and whatever is all really, you know, being the full package is fantastic. But I don't think there's anything wrong in either upskilling yourself in a particular way or going to somebody who might have more skills than you. I'd be more than happy to run Photoshop streams. I'm always like, whenever I see anybody advertise for Skillshare, like, absolutely get that bread, but it's nothing that you can't pick up on YouTube. Like, I have never taken a lesson in using Photoshop, but it has taken me 22 years to get to the level that I am currently at, including, say, I would be so done on that. There we go. I'd be more than happy to say, if people gave me like fake thumbnails or whatever, I would have to be very studious about this though. I can't just make people's thumbnails in the stream. That is the troubling thing. I mean, hey, if somebody commissions me outside of it and I ask them, would it be cool if I did it on stream? But like, I just don't think about masking stuff when I use Photoshop. Yeah, and that could just be from my, like, you know, my pre-YouTube Photoshop was making posts of gigs. Yeah, like, when I was a kid, I was doing, like, I was on a website called, like, B3TA or something, which was, like, the British version of Something Awful, and they used to have Photoshop contests, so I taught myself how to use Photoshop to basically make, like, photo manipulations and stuff like that. And then, like, when I was a kid, I was drawing and stuff as well, so, like, I could do, oh, let's learn how to do digital art in it. And then, like, when I got to secondary school, it was like, oh, I want to look more into graphic design and layout design, so let's look at that. And again, like, that was just surrounding myself in reference material and, like, trying to figure out how can I do this sort of stuff. Clipping masks is an interesting one, because it's like, I think I just purely found that by accident, like, or it might have even just been like somebody did like a tutorial of, oh, I need to do like a fake 80s font for somebody's poster, let's have a look and, you know, see if there's any good tutorials for doing like Desert Chrome or whatever. And somebody was like, okay, now make a clipping mask. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know about that. But like, the moment that you find out about this stuff, it's just like, it makes everything a doddle where you can just, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bash, bosh, bish, like, and it's cool because, like, at the moment that you learn about a couple of these things, like, you just end up, like, there's parts of Photoshop that I just never touch. Like, there's an entire filter gallery in here, which, you know, you could use it if you want it. Like, if you have a particular vision in mind, some of these things could, you know, help you achieve it. But yeah, it's just, you can't, I think a lot of it's just down to if you give yourself a little project in it, and, well, I mean, that's what you've been doing. You've been making thumbnails and stuff, and your thumbnails will get better the more you make of them. I mean, literally, I showed an example earlier of one of the first ones that I made versus one of the, like, this was the original thumbnail that I had for my Crash Bandicoot video, which I made him as a vector character in Illustrator, and then why this guy works. Orange background, boom, bam, you can read that at any size. Wow, everybody wants to look at this guy, wowee. And then I redid it and it looks like this. And purely that was based on experience of, well, I know how to manipulate objects. I know how to do like masking and clipping masks and stuff like that. Tiny bit of a drop shadow on it, tiny bit of a glow, color correction, bammo, and that was it. It probably took as long as this one did, but just due to my previous experience, it just came out better as a result. So yeah, I think in your case was like, you know what you want your stuff to look like. You're not so much like a lot of people who've kind of said today, like who've sent this stuff, is like, I want people to know immediately, like, this is my channel and this is what I want my stuff to reach more people. I think in your case it's just kind of a matter of, I got a particular look in mind, but I just need that skill set to be able to reach it. Wait, so clipping mask, so what let you put like Crash's hand over the text? No, I think that was just pure mask. Actually, you know what? I might even have the original development files here. Hold up. At least I think I do. I can show you an example of one where something is clipping. Okay. Don't tell Raz that I'm showing you this, okay? But so that's like Link in front of that bit of text, and that's just purely just cut him out, and like a tiny bit of color correction and stuff like that. That's a mask that I've applied to it, and purely that's just a gradient. So like it does that, and this, I believe it is, yeah, so that's just a sword, and yeah, so like I've masked, so like that thing by I'm probably clipping it. This thing by here, that is a mask, and you can apply it to absolutely anything. Yeah, by the way, do not mention to Raz that I showed you any of this, by the way. But like, yeah, let's say that I put a mask on Link and I decide, oh, I like it, but I don't want him to have his head anymore. Okay, well, let's just get rid of that. But it doesn't matter on this one anyways, because he's still in the background. But like, you can kind of see it's gone behind his head. like that. Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, that's great. But yeah, like, so the old James D thing of you know, having bits of text and stuff be affected by the foreground and the background. Yeah, that's just through masking like that. And yeah, that's just purely, yeah. Let me remove that now. Stop looking at that. But yes, Chris, everything is loose in my folder at the moment. I will sort stuff in a little while, because yeah, it does need to be cleaned up quite a bit. What are some other Raz stuff that I've done which has got, I don't think I do it too much with his stuff, like actually I can show one of Mitch's. There we go. That's a good idea. I can show how I did this. So I believe it is, yeah, so that's the background layer, gradient, games in the foreground. I think that was a gradient I turned off. That thing. Yeah, and that has a mask around it as well, so basically it isn't being clipped by that guy's head. And purely I just drew the stuff out that I didn't want to be clipped. I'm sure if I... yeah. I love how you choose new. That's just purely down to you do a lot and you just kind of yeah. Like I think in this case, yeah, I think I just said GTA 5. Yeah, I think I don't think I saw this one immediately, but you were like you told me the idea of the thumbnail, which is about how people complain about why oh my game's better than yours, whatever, but it doesn't fucking matter because GTA 5 makes 10 billion a year, and I was like, well, GTA 5 is a game about bank robberies, so let's get a picture of somebody picking up some money from a bank robbery. And fucking bingo bango, there is literally this piece of concept art by here of doing it, and I was like, well, there we go, fucking planets have aligned and we can just make that happen. But versus say like Legend of Zelda one, which with this one it was like I wasn't quite sure where to go with it, so it was mostly like, well, let's have a look and see if there's any nice concept art or any kind of nice images. And like, a lot of people who have done videos on Majora's Mask use this piece of key art just because it is so evocative. And with this one we can do cool stuff like, oh look, his eyes are peeping through the holes, and oh look, that thing's poking out as well, and all that kind of stuff. Like if I had like again, in a lot of these cases I wish that I'd love to suggest to somebody, oh, I'll just draw you a thumbnail, like I'll do your artwork, but I can draw anything like anywhere like as close to good as this. So but yeah, like, so I think I just purely I just rubbed that out around his hand. But yeah, I don't know what this Mitch meme is though in that photo. I don't really want to open it just to find out. This art is just wild though. Yeah, it's a really nice piece of key art. I think they drew it for the 3DS. Like, I think this is the cover to the 3DS game, which they just drew as a big poster. But and again, in your case, Mitch, like your channel already has a brand to it. It is like, and I wasn't trying to be cheeky earlier, but like you do have a particular like your stuff is like in boxes and has this particular color to it and stuff like that, which like that was the important thing that I wanted to get across, like in all this. And again, even in this one, like the original like I added a gradient map to this to make sure that the actual colors matched your brand stuff, like get it more towards those kind of like peachy colors and stuff like that, which again, if you're doing font, and that's what I was saying earlier about like having like a brand in place or whatever. You don't have to go to the effort of like having a logo or something, but like Pim, it could be consistent just in regards to the color choices that you make. Can be purely subtle, because at the end of the day, you might not notice it like consciously, but subconsciously this will go into your head and you'll go, that is a Mitch video because it has got that pink color to it, and it has got the that particular font and that particular spacing as well. And then they'll turn on the video and, oh look, it is Mitch, he's telling me all this stuff. I don't know if any of this stuff has been particularly useful to you, Wiz, but like, yeah, I think in your case it is just a matter of just look at some YouTube tutorials. Like, don't bother with Skillshare or anything, just look at some. There's one particular thing you want to do in YouTube, just like look at that. I mean, yeah, maybe I might do a Photoshop stream or something so you can see from the 3 steps removed from the Supreme box logo rip-off. So, yeah, but nothing wrong with good artist copy, great artist steal that Supreme logo. I think yeah, baby. Thank you, Android. Man, it's okay. I mean, realising you get different at this Photoshop rabbit hole. Yeah. I just like using Photoshop anyways, it's my hobby, like pretty much every night of the week I will use it for something, either whether it's making a thumbnail or drawing something or just making something that I'll use somewhere else. I've tried my best to wean myself off Photoshop, but I am GIMP don't do it for me, and Affinity Photo does not do it for me. Like it's just what I'm used to at this point, which may be a bad thing as a designer to say that I only know how to use Photoshop, but I've grown to enjoy doing stuff in Photoshop over time. Yeah, exactly. That's how I'm with it as well. I just find it really chill. I showed GIMP and I just had no idea what was happening. Yeah. Well, the problem with GIMP is that like it's got that thing that like almost all free software has, where the UI is a fucking mess, because like having my Photoshop experience improved 1000% when I learned how to resize things. Yeah, I can imagine that would probably help quite a few things. And like with this, like like my workspace isn't that different to what the usual stock one is, and you have histories and like the brush settings I fiddle around with, the text and the paragraph settings I fiddle around with. Properties are purely generated from that. There's a checkbox that lets you do it. Left my ass off. GIMP is confusing, but once I use it for a few years, then like Snake uses GIMP and he gets on absolutely fine with it. So, and like he said to me, he wants to learn Photoshop because he feels restricted by it. But I think if you can make a good, if you can work within those restrictions, you can probably do stuff that's as good as my stuff. It's just you have to take some extra steps to get there. Like it doesn't have like Photoshop has layer effects and stuff built into it, like drop shadows and whatever. You can't do one automatically in GIMP, but it doesn't matter because you can just make a shape. Oh no, don't do that. Ah, damn it, why has it done that? Yes, delete that. Make the color black. Move it. Filter, blur. Go sign blur. Bammo, there we go. Drop shadow. Affinity has been my go-to, and I've gotten pretty comfortable with it. Yeah, I think if I spent a week or if I had a project in Affinity, I would probably pick it up. But I just haven't sat down with Infinity Photo and just cracked on. But hey ho. Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know about that, Mitch? You didn't know that you could just make drop shadows like that? It's pretty good. I have something cool that you can do as well if you didn't know about this. If I can get it working, actually, which I should be able to. Right, pop a drop shadow on it, like as per usual, like that. Now, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Look, you can have an object with a drop shadow, but you don't see it. Look at that. Think of all the things you can do with that, Mitch. Crazy shit. Yeah. Pog. I haven't got Pog yet. I haven't got any emoji. I haven't got any special emojis for this Discord for this stream yet. Maybe if I do a few more of these, maybe I will. But I don't know what. Don't know what would be good for the streaming. I don't know what kind of Pog would be good. I don't even want to do. I will teach you about BTTV. Oh, thank you, Mitch. That'd be good. Yeah, baby. Oh, thank you, Zach. Much appreciated. Right. I'm trying to think if there's anything more that I can say a whiz, but no, not particularly. Like I said, like you've kind of got yourself figured out. It's just a matter of just sitting in Photoshop and just doing what you can to like zhuzh stuff up. I mean, like I can kind of see how you made this one is you found a render of Mario flying, you took out the background, or maybe you got it from PNG fine, which the background was already taken. Ah, there we go. Good idea, Cherry. I'll do a Prince Pratt pogging, or just Prince Pratt's face. The text would have been on a transparent layer as well. Bam, stick a sky background. Like, just grab just clouds from... Wait, any clouds just look like Mario clouds. What resolution? 720p. Okay. Yeah. The maximum size is 1280 by 720. No point making them any bigger. So, yeah, 720p is absolutely fine. That's what I make all my thumbnails. So yeah, 720p, that's the way it go. And same as JPEGs, because that's how you upload them to YouTube anyways. They won't accept PNGs. I mean, you can make a PNG version if you want like a nicer quality version for yourself, but There's no need for anything else. Trying to think. No, those are like the only technical specs that you need to know about that. Don't same as a JPEG 2000 or a JFIF or anything like that. It's got to be a JPEG. Yeah, all that stuff. Highest possible progressive scan. Yeah. There we go. Right. James, did you know that Photoshop has a menu option to generate 30 plus different types of tree out of the box? I did know that, Chris, but I don't have it in this version of Photoshop because it's CS6. But I know in the newer versions of CC you do have that. And I also really want a new version of CC because you can do like subtle face manipulation stuff. Like you can you make people smile who aren't smiling and stuff like that. It looks very weird, but I've had to use it a couple of times in work because sometimes we will get promotional pictures of people doing their jobs and they look really miserable, and they ask us, can you make it look like they're smiling so they're not unhappy while they're doing their work? And we go, yes, we can do that. And the old way of doing that was finding a mouth that looked similar to the smiling and sticking it on, but now you just make a smile. I mention it not because it's useful, because it makes me laugh. Uploaded. Yeah, like Adobe haven't come up with a good new idea for Photoshop since like CS4. Like everything new they add to it is just complete like this has 3D capability in it, and it is so awkward to use and so useless that I have never smiled at work. Yeah. If you're smiling at your job, it's not a job anymore. That's just, it's not right. Yeah, like Photoshop has 3D stuff in it, which is really awkward to use and not quite fully baked, and I don't quite know what. Like I've used it a couple of times. Like I used it on. Let me see if I can bring it up. I should stop showing my own stuff though, because I don't want it to seem like just do what I do. But because I don't, I don't do everything right either. But so that text in the background on King K's thumb, that was I think that was Photoshop 3D that I used for that, and it was such a pain to set up. And then actually no, I tried doing this as Photoshop 3D and it just sucked, and I ended up doing it in Illustrator using a more old-fashioned method of doing it, and it just looks way better as a result. But yeah, no, exactly. I find CS6 is still perfectly usable for me. Like I would like to use like a newer version of After Effects so I can use all the Cinema 4D stuff, but that's it. Like there's nothing here that I feel I need other than that. But there we go. Okay, we're at 2.5 hours. Let's do a little bit more feedback then. Let's see if anybody else needs any more help. I mean, we could just split this in half. I could do this next one now and then maybe do something else, but I don't know. Let me know in the chat, guys. Are you enjoying the Photoshop stream so far? Is there anything I could be doing better? Is there anything you want to change? Is my volume still good? Is everything all right? Just let me know. Sound off. Photoshop stuff is dope. Yeah, maybe I might just do a Photoshop stream at some point and just like make a thumbnail or just like even drawing and stuff in it. I do enjoy like just sitting there and just doodling stuff in Photoshop. That being said, I don't know really what I doodle. Like thank you, Ebon. Like all the Quest and Show stuff's been drawn now, and like I occasionally draw stuff for like campaigns that I want to run and whatever, but I haven't really, there's not much more than that really. Okay, I couldn't figure out who this person was. Everybody else I've managed to find their channels and Google them. I don't couldn't quite figure out if you're in this chat currently, KAfterKai. Please let yourself known so I can kind of have a look at your channel. Oh, by the way, I didn't look at anybody else's channels, even though you did say, "Can you review my channel's branding?" Oh, although I guess I kind of did in a sort of a wider sense, but I guess otherwise, though, if KAfterKai doesn't make themselves known, then I guess we'll continue on. What is your channel? Vibes or Goals? A video essay and media analysis channel. What do you like about your thumbs? The general minimalism and simplicity. What makes you uncertain they aren't eye-grabbing enough? Okay, well let's put that to the test. Let's see what they look like. Yeah. I missed most of it. I need to head to bed, but I'm definitely watching the VOD and catch up later. This has been really educational. Thank you very much, Chris. It's been a really cool stream. I'd love to see some streams of you working on a film, and if you're looking for people who want to let you stream that, I'd love for you to do that with mine in the future. I'll keep that in mind then, Cecil. Maybe I might start asking people while I'm working on thumbnails, like, are you okay with me live streaming this? But cool. Thank you for coming along, Chris. And yeah, the VOD should hopefully be up later, and I might even try and edit a highlights reel or something for YouTube, so that'd be good. Have a nice sleep, see. I'll be going for the next hour or so. Yeah, this thumbnail here is a big old guy looking into my eyes. Ah, there they are. Right, thank you very much, Cynical. Yeah, that's them. Thank you. They like Jacob, and they like Hikaru. Hikaru, you're in the chat, aren't you? At least I think I saw your name in the chat, but oh no, that's Honecker. Never mind. Oh yeah, okay. Have a good night, Cecil. See you. Yeah, let's have a quick look at this stuff. So they've only got a couple of videos so far, and yeah. Let's have a quick look at the thumbnail. Yeah, it's okay. The one thing I quite like about this that nobody seems to do is I quite like the sort of chromatic aberration that this image has. I don't know whether that's something that they did. Maybe it is, or maybe it's something that's actually in the image itself, which is quite nice. Yeah, it's definitely simple. I mean, it's just a big old image and a nice bit of text by there. I mean, again, it's just kind of like I said to Wiz, which is, this is absolutely fine, but we could kick it up a level. Like, you know, maybe sit the text in the middle as a kind of a layout thing. Stick a little bit of shadow on it, stick a little bit of a vignette on it, maybe do a little bit... I mean, again, maybe not so much color correction because it's got this chromatic aberration to it. Maybe we could apply that to the text itself, which isn't very hard to do, actually. Oh yeah, if an image is locked and you're not sure what to do, it's probably index color because it's a GIF. Change that to RGB color. There we go. So let's just use this as an example quickly. Let's quickly pop it in the middle like that. Maybe make it a tiny bit smaller. So how would I do this chromatic aberration thing? Well, how does that work? Well, if you open up the image like so, and then you get your layer style options like this, and this is where you apply stuff like drop shadows or glows, or if you're feeling really saucy, you can put a bevel on it. Not that I would know why you'd want to do that. Same thing with gradient, and same thing as pattern overlays. Oh, I wanted to make it look like it's made out of bubbles. Nobody wants to do that. That's nonsense. But if we go back to blending options by here, and this is where you can change, like, you know, if you're having it overlaid like that, so it's still a little bit behind it. So you got your channels by here, and as you're probably all aware from how your computer works, stuff like that. White light is made up of all different sorts of components, but the way that it's calculated, it is made up of red, green, and blue, like so. And you combine all those things together, and you get white light. But say we want to just have it so it is red light, like that. And then we might make a layer above it, and we'll say, okay, let's make this only green light, like so. And then we'll make another one on top of that. We'll do only blue light. But now it just looks exactly the same. But because they're all separate layers, we can do this. And look at that. We got it. So we're getting nice little chromatic aberration on that text, just as we did with the image in the background. And like, yeah, as in the middle of with this image, you got it's solid where it needs to be and all that sort of stuff. Now, maybe we want to add a drop shadow to this, and you probably have to go, oh gosh, do I need to apply drop shadows to every single layer? Absolutely not. This is why you make stuff into groups, which is what I do all the time, because as a group, you can just move everything that you want that matters, but say you want to move like a little individual thing, you can do that as well, and then you can still move that as well. But I want to add a drop shadow to all. I want to treat this almost as one object that I'm adding a drop shadow to. It's going to look a little bit funky because these are kind of translucent elements, but it almost creates kind of a cool effect from doing that. Also, it does get a little bit glitchy as well, and I'm not quite sure about that. But it's because it's on pass-through, or... Okay. But yeah, like you can see here, it does create kind of a cool effect from doing this. And then yeah, like off for today, but no problem. Thank you for being here. Video games are really bad. I hope you don't think that Photoshop is too bad though. But I'm doing this. But yeah, and then like with this, we could do the old prerequisite. Stick a little vignette on it, like so. Oh, whoopsie daisy, don't do that. Why ain't you working? Ah, because it's in white, that's why. And then with this, we can change it so, you know, it multiplies this effect, which darkens the image. We can do a linear burn, which means that it applies linearly, or a color burn, which means that it only affects the colors and stuff like that. That's kind of a cool effect because it almost plays with the blending and stuff like that. Again, makes it look a little bit spooky, which I don't know maybe if that's the intent of the creator or whatever, but you know, like I said, it doesn't take very long to, you know, create something cool out of all this stuff. And again, maybe we decide we want it to be like the old RGB stuff, which might be neat like that. There we go. I'm like, that's just kind of taking something that's already been done and just giving it that extra oomph, essentially, which is what you want, like, looking at a YouTube thumbnail. Like, at the end of the day, you'd want to make this text a little bit bigger to, you know, perfectly readable at any side, and you're kind of looking at it because it's like, oh, this guy's looking at me, and what is just, like, there is a question in here. What does it mean? What is justice? So you're going to click on the thumbnail and you're going to find out. So I don't know if Kay's in the stream or not. I'm guessing probably not because they haven't said anything, but that would be mostly my feedback, is that you can keep things simple, but like simplicity is purely just down to the amount of stuff that's happening on screen. And purely this is just a guy's face and some text. Like, there is a background, but you're not really seeing it. But we can still do stuff with those simple elements to kick it up a notch. Like, again, the image in the background had a little bit of chromatic aberration on it, so we could apply that to the text as well, and we could put a little bit of a vignette on it to draw your eyes to the text and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think at the moment though, looking at your channel's branding, I guess maybe I would just kind of say the same things with all that stuff, which is, you know, you're on the right path, and a lot of this stuff is quite cool. I mean, yeah, your Attack on Titan one's quite evocative. Like, I don't know if you'd really want to change that because of like the way that the graphics look. Again, maybe that, you know, that's kind of a benefit of like reviewing anime and manga, is that like it's already very visually striking and interesting, and then all you really need to do with your font and your text is just get it to match the sort. Like, that could be one thing to do, is try and get it to match the source material. Like, and you know, it doesn't have to be like cartoon font and in, you know, in a thought bubble or a speech bubble or anything, but that is one way to kind of get that point across. So yeah, obviously I can't ask you if that was any help because I don't think you're here, but you know, that's just kind of that, I guess. But yeah, so hopefully you might see the VOD where I've given this feedback, see, and you know, maybe some of this stuff could be applicable or not. But yeah, all very neat. So I guess I'll do one more then, as that one went a lot quicker than I was expecting. And I believe... Oh, it's Ebon. Ebon, are you still there? So have a quick look at the chat. Go and give it a quick refresh. Yes. You mentioned that anime is naturally pop-in, but is there a way to make character models from video games more striking? Should you add like an outline? Should you turn it into a mask and add a drop shadow? Yeah, I think I did do this with somebody's thumbnail previously. Let me have a quick look. Yeah, I did. I did it with... so this is one of Darkfry's ones that he commissioned for me, of like how to make a... Yeah, baby. Thank you, one with a beard. So this was one that he made about cool characters from... like how to make a cool boss fight in... And I think his example was the guy from No More Heroes 2. And so with this one, yeah, like... I think the background he was on, I cut that out, and I changed his colour a little bit. I don't think I added a line to him, but I think I did neaten it up a tiny bit. I knocked up the... Actually, I might be able to just open the file and tell you how I did it. Yeah, no, I did change it, I remember that. Yeah, so this was just like a piece of like key art that like I found. Okay, so yeah, it was originally here. So this was just a bit of key art that I found online, which I cut out most of it and then had to recreate some of the edging. And did I even really... Yeah, so I think I pumped up the yeah, I think I added a gradient map to him to kind of... So yeah, so that's done with Darkfry stuff, is that like pink seems to be like a key component in all of his videos, so like it was important to get that element in it as well. So I believe, yeah, so like I created this gradient map for him to kind of apply that pinkish colour to him as one of the as his grey tone. I think, yeah, and then I did just a little colour lookup table just to help it pop just a little bit more. And then... But yeah, like with something like this, you very well could, probably not with this guy though, because he's gonna, I don't think he's quite the full package, like, because he is so many desperate elements. But did I do it with the Ouija one? Yeah. Okay, so with this one that was done for Liam Triforce, like, yeah, both of these characters I think were oh no, they already had glows on them in the image. But I think, yeah, in this case, I would have cut the backgrounds out, put a glow on them, or put a drop shadow on them to make sure that they properly, you know, pushed out from different elements. Yeah, I think if that's the point of the video that you want to make, you can absolutely separate a character from its background to kind of help it pop more, essentially. I was going to say, there must have been one that I did. Yeah, there is. Who was it for, though? Oh, yeah, so I did this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure one for Pterodactyl, and that one was actually cut out from the background, but that was from an anime, but I think it is still a 3D model that they used. And, like, yeah, in that case, I did do a little bit to separate him from his background elements to help it pop more. But, yeah. So yeah, should I add an outline? Should I turn it into a mask and drop a shadow? Yeah. Anything that you can do to help it separate more. I think, like, the Crash Bandicoot thumb's, like, a good example of that. Because, you know, he interacts with the text and that, like, really helps him pop as a result. But, like, there isn't a lot that I had to do with that as a result. It was already quite, you know, he's already quite distinct from his background, but that's just purely from how the game is built. So, yeah. Right, Ebon, time to have a look at your stuff then. No need to put it off any further. So, EbonPhantom. Give me an idea of what you're aiming for. I go for a... No problem. I typically go for a glitchy VHS aesthetic for my main style of videos with a good hint of purple. The second thumbnail is from one I'm currently working on that is going for a pop art style. I like my different series to have different styles to make them more distinct. What do you like about them? I think it sort of fits well with the videos and the text is generally easy to read. I think the second one works a lot better than my usual ones because it is really consistent with how I'll be doing the transitions. What are you uncertain about? I worry that the thumb's too basic and boring since it's just a chunk of text over a glitched out background. I find it hard to make that more dynamic without overloading it. Okay, let's have a quick look at your stuff. Because I think I had a look at your stuff earlier and yeah, no, I think... Like, I think with this one it's fine, really. It's this second one, though, that you're, from what you were saying, is, yeah, you were going for a different thing with that, but still within that kind of restriction. But, yeah, I mean, I like the aesthetic, and, like, it's what I was saying earlier in regards to you don't have to have an icon. Oh, whoops. You don't have to have a logo or have, like, an icon or something for people to know immediately that it is you. Like, in your case, the thing that's consistent with all of them is the VHS filter plus, like, obviously, like, this kind of purplish colour scheme I think is, like, a part of your channel aesthetic as well, just from, like, looking at your other stuff. The only thing I would probably say about this one, and this is purely based on, and this might be incorrect because I haven't played it, but, like, this aesthetic doesn't quite fit what Spiritfarer is about. Like, it's like, let me quickly Google it. Yeah, like, so Spiritfarer is a little bit kind of, not cuddly, I don't think is the word that I'm looking for, but it's a bit more... Yeah, I do want to change the background image on that one. Yeah. Yeah, because, like, I look at this and it almost looks like it's from, like, a Streets of Rage game or something. Like, it doesn't look like this, which is more about, like, you know, cutesy, you know, you know, it's almost kind of got, like, a sort of a seaside aesthetic to it, which, I mean, you could still have with your, sorry, I've been looking, but the film was good, but I thought I was... Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like, I look at that and I didn't immediately think that that was Spiritfarer, and I might be... It's a bit like Animal Crossing, where everybody does it. Well, isn't everybody already dead in Spiritfarer? Because you're playing the... you're the boatman, taking them over to the other side. But, like, you could still make this work with your purple aesthetic. If I throw together a quick gradient map... I think you're probably right with that, Chariot Rider. I think it is more in that kind of vein, which... I'm not saying that you can't still do the VHS aesthetic with it, but... No, I didn't think you did. I mean, you like Night in the Woods, which is very much a quote-unquote emotional game, but... So like with this, you know, you're still kind of working in your usual gradient and aesthetic, but it's still working within the limits of kind of how the game looks and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you could still have your, you know, your usual VHS filter and stuff over it as well, which if we quickly build that, do I have a... Oh, no, I don't. Oh, damn it. But yeah, you get what I mean, like those kind of like scanline look and stuff that you'd have over it as well, which, again, still works within the kind of your branding, which I think is what you want, but I get that. I don't actually know why I didn't use an image of the boat. Again, it might have just been... Maybe when you were working on it, there was something about that image that you kind of maybe was more evocative to what you were talking about in the video. I don't know, like, it'll be whatever, like, and I mean, hey, like I said, you know, thumbnails are very much plastic. You can always change stuff after the fact, which is like the best thing about them. But this one I like a lot, though. Like, yeah, baby, thank you very much, Ion the Miller. So like with this, sorry, Austin Powers keeps knocking me off my, it keeps knocking me off. I've been there EbonPhantom and I get fixated on an idea and I want to make it work. Yeah, no, we all absolutely, you know, I've been victim of that as well. Like, I'll get in my head that it needs to be this way or it needs to look like that, and, you know, sometimes it takes somebody... Having somebody to bounce ideas off of, I think, is always a great idea as well. Even if it's somebody that maybe you don't know very well. Like, I don't think this, like, this one went through about 5 iterations. I've struggled hard with it. I think this is really cool. And again, it works within your current aesthetic because, yeah, someone's got that kind of, like, you know, deep-fried VHS aesthetic to it. But it's very cool. Like, I don't really know much about the character or what game he's from, but I assume that the aesthetic, like if he's like a Persona character or something like that, matches the aesthetic of that game, where it's, you know, very pop art and very cut out looking. Yeah, it works really. Oh, so he's a Danganronpa character. Well, there we go. Yeah, no, it does. It works really well for that kind of like Danganronpa style. So, yeah, like, could it be more exciting? I don't know. I think the more that you would add to this, the more it would remove from the kind of the point you would want to make. You could maybe make the character a little bit larger, but again, it's very pop-up. Oh, there we go, yeah. I think maybe the only thing I would suggest is just make this bit bigger, and that's just purely... Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Oh, there we go. Set forward, copy merged. Oh, right, yeah, because you're by there. I think I would only do this, and that's purely so it's legible at a smaller size. But that's it. Like, everything else you've done here is pretty spot on. Maybe you could make the red colour a bit more purplish to just kind of fit your channel aesthetic, but, like, that's it. Like, everything else about this is just, yeah, spot on. It's just really cool. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's anything more about it that you could do to make it more appealing. I mean, I didn't initially know that he was from Danganronpa, but you could say... But then, because it's called Judge a Character, this is probably part of a larger series where you're, like, looking at different characters. But, like, I look at this and you'd almost kind of want to call like maybe you wouldn't even mention the character's name in the thumbnail. Like you'd maybe say, you know, maybe if it's a video about why he's a cool character, you would say like how to write a great character. How to write a great, okay, or like making a great character, or like something like that. Or if it's about bad characters, like, you know, what went wrong, or how to write a bad character, or writing a bad character, or something like that. And then, you know, if somebody who doesn't know about Danganronpa or doesn't know who this character is, they would go, ooh, what's this? Let's have a look at that. And, you know, and you still got this pop out element, which even if you don't particularly know who that character is, you know, that aesthetic is still really pulling you in, which is the main thing. But like again, it's for a series where I look at various characters. This is the first one. Yeah, so exactly. You might want to keep it consistent because you need it across, you know, a couple of different episodes. That being said, maybe for the first one you could do that, and then as the later ones come out, you could go back and rebrand that to make so people know that it was part of the same series. Or maybe you could have it in the title, like, you know, writing a great character in the thumbnail, but then the title is just a character : Suichi Saihara, or something like that. I don't know, I'm just kind of... This is just purely like me talking from an aspect of like a lot of the stuff that I've made for usually one and done style videos. I've never... Like, there's been a couple of instances where I've created stuff that's been for like a quote-unquote consistent series, but... yeah, I don't know. Like I said, though, I don't think there's really, apart from just making the text bigger, there was nothing really I could say that you could do to change this outside of the, you know, your particular vision for what this is. So no, I think so far, no, you're pretty on point with this. I will have a quick look at your channel though, because there was one thought that I did have. What's this? Who's messaging me on Discord? I'm just gonna have a quick check. Don't you worry about that. Oh, it's Rasputin. Okay, yeah, don't worry about it. Sorry, he threw me off my thing as well. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have a quick look at your channel as well. So that was one thing that I thought, which was you have like this avatar of yourself in the videos, and I was wondering why you didn't put it in your thumbnails. I guess maybe because you don't want it taking up too much space, but like this is a unique selling point of your channel, is that you have this unique avatar associated with your videos. But I don't know, that was just kind of more sort of what I was like, just kind of from seeing this in your initial trailer, was that, oh, that's quite cool, is this kind of like almost like little video host that goes along with your VHS aesthetic, really. Because yeah, like everything else that you've done is it's actually a second character who pops up in videos. Oh, well, there we go. But like, yeah, with your other so I can see now you got a consistent thing of you have a channel brand which is what the frick is, and then you got all these different videos that go along with it. Yeah, Mr. Ghosty. I guess with these ones, like Hades, I do know pretty well, and I would almost say like a big selling point of that game is how who's getting ready to something very soon. Oh, okay. Like Hades is quite like a really visually interesting looking game, and I almost feel like that thumbnail doesn't quite get that. Like, it'd be nice if that element could be put across in that thumbnail, is what I'm thinking. Like, you can still have the VHS aesthetic with it, but the main thumbnail is strong, and that is the most popular thumbnail. Yeah, that's true. And yeah, that has got a nice, really nice elements to it. You got this, you got a big character there, which is, you know, what's drawing your attention. You know, the text is leading. You know, you've done something interesting with the text as well. You know, nice little bit of light flash in the background. Yeah, like, I think like you're still working within the not the you're working within your style parameters if you want, you know, that particular kind of text and your kind of border and your color and your chromatic aberration stuff that you are doing, but you are breaking a few rules, and that's making it a lot more interesting. Like, it isn't just whack bang in the middle text, you know, it isn't completely straight. You've sort of fiddled around with it, and you've used the character to break it up a little bit as well. And, you know, that might not be a bad call for the Spiritfarer video. You could use maybe a character from it to put... Like, I think that was what I was saying about, like, that little character, that secondary character, is that maybe putting something in the foreground just to break it up a little bit would, you know, help draw the eyes a little bit more than just, you know, smack bang text right in the middle, image in the background. But, yeah. I think otherwise, though, like, you've got yourself figured out in regards to what your style is. But yeah, I think just looking at that, you can, like, you want to make a more like, again, that Code Vein one is a good example of how to make stuff more dynamic without overdoing it. Like, it's working within the elements that you already use and just breaking up a little bit, you know, bringing in a character, bringing in, you know, a little bit of transition to the text, stuff like that. It gives them a bit more oomph. Yeah. Don't know how useful that was for you, but that's my feedback on that, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah. Gosh, my screen is really bright. I've just noticed in my tiny window. Every time I'm on YouTube now. It's nice and dark. Anyway, so let's go back to the phone. Oh, that's so bright. Oh God. But it's still mad how much thumbnails matter on YouTube. I think for the Wizawhat Maker was a little too hard on myself because I always didn't like them that much. Like I said, I think they work. I think, again, it's one of those things. There's a bit of a trap that you can fall into with branding. Is that, like, should I be too on brand when I'm starting off and stuff like that? I think you've hit kind of a nice mix of, they are very recognizably you, but there is the opportunity that you have so that you can mess around with them. And yes, you can always update a thumbnail after the fact. In fact, a lot of people do. Mark Brown updates his thumbnails all the time to, like, you know, hone in on a particular... Like, I think he showed an example of his... He had an original Hitman thumbnail and the video wasn't getting a lot of views, and then he changed it to, like, make it more impactful and have a really interesting key phrase in it, and, like, his views, like, that boosted his views. So that stuff will help. But yeah, no, it is funny, just like thumbnails on YouTube are just, they can be really, like, make or break for a lot of stuff. So yeah. Right, well, we're at the 3-hour mark. We got 3 more. They never used to look like that. They used to be unreadable messes. Well, so yeah, there we go. So they're still improving, and, you know, you're obviously open to changing up after the fact. So yeah, I think it's one of those things that you'll just, like, they'll get better as time goes. Like, as you kind of get more experimental with them and kind of push them, I think, you know, they'll get better as a result. So yeah, so we are at the 3-hour mark. We have 3 more responses left. I could go through them for the next hour. I could do something else. I could play a game or something and chill with the chat a bit more. I don't know what do people want. This is my first stream. I'm happy with whatever. But this has been just check your channel. The editing is so good. I know what your videos and binging through next. Well, there we go. This stream has been very useful for getting, you know, your content. And again, I think that's a big thing as well, is that, like, if people who have the means to show content off and stuff like that is, yeah, really important. You know, Raz did it with me, and, like, you know, I got... Oh, who wooed? Oh my God, Dan, you're posting me. Thank you very much. So we got to see that that alert, which is nice. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do another thumbnail stream, and I think I might. Yeah, it is 11 o'clock at night, and I think my plan was I was gonna go till midnight. So I think I'm gonna do another thumbnail stream, and I think I'll either maybe next weekend or maybe in the week or so. I don't know. I'm gonna weigh it up. I'm gonna chat to people after the fact, see what they think. You know, ask for some brutal honesty, much like I've been giving you guys brutal honesty with all these thumbnails. But yeah, I think cynical. I think if I go on too long, I'm probably gonna like my advice is gonna start petering out as my brain dies. So I think maybe if I do another stream, I'm gonna be like on it, and I think as well it's just gonna give me more time to maybe stew your stuff, and I might be able to give you some better feedback. So yeah, I think I might just chill with the chat a little bit from here. But yeah, Zach, that's cool. I'm interested in seeing what kind of thumbnails you put together, because your recent spate of, well, I mean all your videos, but like your recent couple of videos have been fucking absolute bangers. So if any of you guys aren't following Zach on YouTube, you should be, because he like his medium one is just like is the kind of video that I want to make. Just fucking bang bang bang, just all the point. Like in regards to just kind of like, it's very hard to like thread the needle between, you know, research and kind of analytics and stuff like that. But he makes it like the medium video just makes it look fucking effortless. It's ridiculous. But my favorite, if you want another recommendation of his videos, his Batman one is very good. My favorite one is the Magic Mike Double XL one though. Like it is like on par with like Lindsay Ellis style movie analysis, or like Maggie Mae Fish or something like that. If you liked their work, you would love the Magic Mike vid. So yeah, the timestamps is the most interesting one, because it always seems totally inconsistent. Like sometimes they're bigger and sometimes they're smaller. Like I just kind of say as a golden rule to people, do not put anything in the bottom right corner, even though I'm doing that, and in my window that's on my left. So this corner, don't put anything in this corner, because it will be covered up by YouTube stuff. This corner will also be covered by YouTube stuff a lot. The Magic Mike, but I'm proud. I think the editing's fine. Like, editing's just one of those things that half of it's down to taste and half of it's down to tone. If it fits the video, I think it's fine. You know, like Jacob's editing and like Raz's editing and like Noah Cadwell Gervais's editing. None of them are similar, but they absolutely fit. You know, their speed of delivery, their topics they're covering and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fine. Like I don't like in my memory bank, I'm thinking of the Magic Mike video, and like the editing doesn't. But then I didn't make it. Like you were the person who made the video, so like that stuff will be more glaring to you. So it's just every video that I make, every single area is incredibly glaring with it. But I try not to dwell on that too much. But yeah, I don't know. I like to hope this was helpful. I mean, it's funny because with a lot of this thumbnail stuff, a lot of it is down to taste, and I think a lot of it as well is, you know, especially with like the streams that Raspberry 10 does and stuff like that, is obviously I can't, like, I don't know you guys inside and out. Like, I mean, some of them, you know, some of you guys that have put yourself forward for this, like, it's been nice that like maybe over the past couple of weeks, like I've got to know you through like Discord servers or through like working with you on your own thumbnails or something like that. So I kind of get an idea of like who you are and like what your kind of background is. But I always find it very difficult to be like, oh well, you know, this could be better, or this could be more on brand, because like I can only know so much about who somebody's brand, like what somebody might look at and say, I don't get this, like why does this look as like, you know, why is the text like this, why did you use this image or whatever. That might have been completely intentional for the video that they were making. Like, no, I'm like, you know, if you were like a punk or something and you were making like really like angry like video reviews, and like your editing and stuff reflected that, and then you made a thumbnail which like reflected that as well. Like I wouldn't go in and say, oh, pop a drop shadow on it, or put a but then I don't know, some things are always useful. Like there's always like I think like Sid, Leonardo Sidici gets that in the topics that he covers are so wide ranging, but like all of his thumbnails have like a really consistent professional look to them, even if like his third person shooter one isn't the same as his Yakuza one, or isn't the same as his Berserk one, but they're all really their polish is applied in different places, and like they're all really quality as a result. Like I think that was actually this will be how I end this stream, I think, because this was something that I wanted to do a little bit of in regards to being like, okay, here are some ways that you can improve your stuff or whatever. But I think in just regards to chatting with you guys and looking at your stuff, it's in regards to giving you guys advice, it is very much like a few of you have figured yourself out, and it's just more so you just need to kind of learn a bit more about Photoshop, or find different ways to apply different skill sets or whatever. And while other people, it's what are you trying to convey with your video? What how have you been going about doing that so far, and like how can we improve on that? And I think probably some of my favorite like this isn't really something that I've ever gone into before, but one thing that I was saying to Zolt, I'm going to keep doing this because I work with somebody called Zolt, who is also Hungarian as well, and because their names are so similar, I just keep slipping from one into the other. But why aren't you opening my folders? There we go. I wanted to have a quick look at some cool thumbnail stuff, which isn't stuff that I've made, but I think are like really good examples of like some consistent things that you guys could apply in your own work, and kind of you can look at inspiration. Because like I said to Joel, like don't feel bad about referencing other people's work or even copying people's work, because at the end of the day, unless you're opening their Photoshop files and literally just pulling the assets over in attempting to recreate the look of their stuff, you're going to get stuff wrong anyways, and you're going to make different creative decisions. It will become different, it will transform just through doing that anyways. And for doing that, like you might look at a Game Maker's Toolkit video and you'll say, well, I really like these elements, but I don't like that and I don't like that. And from there, you're already making your own creative decisions as well. So things do change just through that kind of evolutionary basis. But like I said, there are some thumbnails out there that are worth stealing some tips from. I certainly would do so as well, and probably will. But let's have a quick look at some of these. So this is a really cool Game Maker's Toolkit one, and I think the thing that I like about it is the fact that it's on brand with the game that it's talking about. It's using the font, style, and text of the game Celeste. In fact, it looks like the promotional work of Celeste, like how it's integrated into it, how the certain elements kind of marry together and stuff like that. It's a thumbnail that is drawing your attention because bam, she's looking at the text, but bam, there's a big old mountain in the background, and you're like, ooh, what's this about? Again, it's very much piggybacking off the work that, it's already piggybacking off a evocative image in Celeste that they use in the promotional material, but I think that's absolutely fine. I think that is something that if you have the opportunity to do so in your own work, you should absolutely do that. I mean, if I can think of an example in like something that I did, yeah, that minute one I didn't really do too much with, but So yeah, like, this one that I made for Snake, this was for like a video that he did called Excomandalist, which was essentially he like played a couple of test games where the idea was that other people on a Discord call and using Parsec would play the soldiers in a field while he was just a commander who was just kind of giving them commands, but it would be up to them whether they used them or not. And this was purely using assets that was from XCOM, and the font was meant to look like the XCOM font as well. And like that fits within the look of that particular game. Like it doesn't strive too far from that stuff, but it is still very much uniquely, you know, to that particular idea. You know, the commander who's in the background, well, big old question mark, what's this guy about? Managed to figure out what the font was that they used for XCOM, which I believe was future. While I'm heading out, that's good tips here. Thank you for coming, Chariot. Apologies I didn't get around to your stuff, but next time I do one of these streams, you and Cynical will be the first people that I will be looking at, so that'll be good. And obviously, yeah, when the VOD comes up, you can have a look at, you know, some of the stuff that you missed out on, so that'll be good. So yeah, so like with this, it was about trying to get it on brand with XCOM, but obviously with the room to experiment with it. So with that, and these were the soldiers that, like, these were the four soldiers that we ended up playing with for most of it, so, you know, they were front and center, which is, you know, a nice little thing. And again, like, with this, it's working within the materials that he had to work with, but did something new with them, transformed them, and even has the little GMTK logo in the corner, which again I think he can get away with that because obviously people know who Game Makers Toolkit are, and they need, you know, and by seeing that logo you know that it is part of the greater Game Makers Toolkit series. So yeah. Oh no, my voice is starting to die a little bit, but that's okay, I'll keep going. So talking about Sid, this one's really cool because it's a really fun visual gag. It is about the tattoos of Yakuza, and it is literally tattooed onto somebody's back, like a big old Yakuza tattoo. Like, bam, just a really clever idea. And like the execution of it's really nice. Like, you know, the blending's done. Yeah, no, like I said, it's just a fantastic thumbnail, isn't it? And you know the blend. Oh, whoopsie days, that isn't what I wanted to do. So like if I can zoom in or whatever, like it blends in really nicely. Like you know, you got light bleeding and stuff like that, which is properly affecting the image, and you know it does. You know, and the thing is like warping as well to make sure that it is properly following the contours of this person's body, and you know something like that. I can absolutely tell you how he made that. Like basically, he probably made the text with this kind of drop shadow element on it. Then he kind of incorporated the dragon element onto it, which he might have got from somewhere else, so maybe somebody might have got that, given that to him, created a single image out of that, and then basically used a blending mode to put that onto somebody's back. And then he could apply lighting elements on top of it, and, you know, blend different elements to kind of, you know, go with the different skin tones and stuff like that. Again, if you reference like actual Yakuza back tattoos and stuff like that, that would be how you get like the best look of something like that. And, you know, importantly, you can, even at a smaller size like here, you can still make out most of the details. But even then, the text is the text is still important, but you're still seeing the visual gag even at that size, which is the important thing. You know, that's what's going to sell that. This is a Jacob Geller thumb, which I had done an original I had done a version for this video originally, but then I don't know whether he had got somebody else afterwards do this or whether this was submitted to him. But I really like this. Like I find like this was something I wanted to try and recreate myself on like a future video or something like that, but I don't know whether this was like a prop that somebody had photographed or something like that, but like it looks like a Stephen King novel, which absolutely fits the tone of the video that he made, which was about, you know, haunted houses essentially, and like, you know, our history of them. And Control had that, and you know, looking at that through Control, looking at that through Anatomy, but bam, big house front and center, but it is spooky because you have video distortion like you have in Anatomy, but you've also got this really cool 70s looking font, because again, it's like a Stephen King novel. And as it goes from white to red, like, oh, it is getting spookier as it goes further down. Again, like, you can break all this stuff down into individual decisions that had to be made. Like, very limited color, because again, they are evoking that kind of printed look of stuff. And yeah, like, the only thing I would say is make the text a bit bigger, but even then, like, it's really good. Like, it's just, and again, like, making something like that is purely down to how good your resources are. Like, whether you have, like, again, that house, like, it looks like a little miniature or something that they may have photographed against a black background, or it might be a bit of stock art or something that they found on Google, but they looked at that and they knew that, like, 100% this is what we're working with. And like in this case, like, there's no, like, it's just a pure black background on it, but it just doesn't matter because it's just parts really, like, you know, is this on like a midnight sky, or is this like in a void, or something? Like, it's just really, yeah, really just works super well. I quite like this one as well from Sid, and I think just purely because it's just really simple and effective. Like, it's almost kind of like it's the flip side of the Yakuza one, but this one as well just works really nicely. It's really eye-catching. You know, bright yellow. You know, a bright yellow color is always going to get somebody's attention. Then a nice bit of blue, which is a nice contrast to that, and then how to make a relaxing game, which this is nice. You know, blue is a nice relaxing color. You know, makes it a nice relaxing thumbnail to look at. So, and I think this was maybe a 3D prop from the game that he was talking about. I don't know how this was made, actually. Like, maybe there's like a model view or something in the game that he was able to capture this from, or maybe the IKEA. Yeah, very IKEA. Yeah, like that bright yellow and blue are like properly IKEA, which maybe that was something that he was vibing, like maybe that's something that comes up in the video as well and that he was particularly vibing on. Again, even without having watched the video, I kind of get an idea of what he's going for just through look. And again, I think that's 3D text and blend, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, the 3D model itself might have been yeah, no, I think that's how they managed to get the, yeah. So maybe, like, yeah, this might have been a prop or something that he had grabbed from the game and put, like, in Unity or something and grabbed this, or maybe this was already available in game, and then, yeah, just removed the whatever was on the side of the truck originally, then, you know, nice text layout, put it in a box, and then, bam, yeah, he just used it to distort and put that on, and it just works really nicely. And again, I think this is an example of a really simple thumb, which the simplicity works with the tone and the style of the video, because yeah, it is a relaxing, because through its simplicity it is a relaxing thumbnail. It's not as chaotic as the Yakuza one, which, you know, you're all, you know, big old splashes of orange or big old splashes of blue and, you know, bright yellow right in the middle, but that fits with the chaotic tone of a Yakuza game, you know, or like of the Yakuza, you know, they're a criminal family, so like it is an actually chaotic thing, you know, and that's why Sid is really good at doing thumbnail stuff, and I think it's because I don't know what his background is, whether he studied graphic design or went to art college or anything like that, but he's really got it nailed as a result. I like this Game Maker's Toolkit one, but purely just because, again, it looks like the branding. Again, I think this is something that Game Maker's Toolkit is very good at doing, is working within the parameters of like particular brand, like of making his stuff look like the game that he's talking about, which again I think fits for his work, where he is doing pure analytics and pure evaluation. Like, he doesn't inject too much of his personality into his, and well, maybe that's not the right term because I don't want to make it sound like he's a robot, but he tries to present stuff almost like, I don't want to use the word objective because like I don't want it to, objective reviewers, why Star Wars is bad, but like his stuff gets very close to kind of being like a very objective look at games, which I think these thumbnails really reflect that element of that, because apart from his logo in the corner, he is very much taking a back seat to the work. But this is still something that he had to create. There is no image in the game which is all the text, all these images laid out and then how Babarizu works. This is something that he had to create, but he knows the game well enough that he knows the Babarizu is made out of different, it's a game which is about coding. It's about taking different elements and giving them different programming, so he knows that it is a game about all these different elements and how they are laid out. And that is why he has made a thumbnail of all these different elements all laid out, which again, such a clever way of just tying together. Yeah, baby, who's following me? Oh, thank you very much, Kiki Crazed. You might have come at a bad time though, because my voice is dying and likely to be wrapping up in about half an hour. So. But yeah, this is just a perfect example of marrying subject material with your thumbnail stuff. It's just spot on. I don't know, what's because I put some other examples in here of like Patrick H. Willems, which all his stuff is, even if this was really small and you couldn't see his name in the corner, you'd still know it was him for that bright splash of yellow right at the top, and then that deep blue colour that he uses to style all of his videos. And again, like even the white, like having the text interact with the person in front of it. Again, it's interesting, and it kind of marries to the point of you can't see the name Terrence Malick because the video is about what happened to where has Terrence Malick gone. It's cool, it's a really nice way of tying these elements together. But again, I think the thing that I like about this is that with only a few elements, color, layout, font, that this is a Patrick H. Willems video, and these are things that if you wanted to make your own thumbnails, you could very easily apply. Again, like I was kind of showing as we were going along, where you pop your text, what colors. You can use stuff like gradient maps, stuff like that to replace colors. Eye patch Wolf's thumbs are a personal fave. Yeah, I can bring some up. He did slip. I'll say I haven't seen a lot of eye patch Wolf stuff, so I guess he did slip my mind. But yeah, let's have a quick look at his channel. Yeah, like these are all really cool. Like he knows how to. Like he's definitely using every tool at his disposal in Photoshop, but I think that probably goes along with the style of videos that he makes as well. Like, what did the internet do to Undertale? It's a very chaotic and very noisy looking image, which probably likely goes along with his point of the internet took Undertale and made something noisy and chaotic out of it as a result. Then versus something like this, which is, you know, a lot more simpler, and it's like, you know, my favourite things of fall 2020. Bam, anime SpongeBob. Bam, Hades right in the middle. And then bam, that guy on the side. Yeah, some of them are a bit too busy, but I would wonder whether all of that's like the bizarre modern reality of Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, it's just pure chaos, but then, I mean, the modern reality of Sonic the Hedgehog is also kind of pure chaos. But yeah, these kind of split things of here are the things that I want to talk about. And again, like, it kind of goes back to the point of people like looking at thumbnails and they like seeing stuff they recognize. And again, like, you split stuff in three and it's, oh, I kind of know that, and I kind of know, but I don't know these two, but I know this thing, so maybe if they're related, I'm gonna hop on in, find out more about it. Or even just seeing something laid out nicely does a lot to, you know, get someone's attention. That being said, though, FF7, the game that changed ever, he's got that covered by a bit of, you know, bad bit of design there, buddy boy. I don't know what that word means. And unfortunately, I don't know what that means either, because it trails off the end. Yeah, this isn't me giving thumbnail advice, but this is me giving general YouTube advice. If you come up with a title, try and get it to fit on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Try and get it to fit in like less than 10 words, because otherwise you're gonna get that. And unless you're super eye patch wolf, like, you know, you want to get all your points right in a title like that. And obviously that's not going to work for every single video, but if you have the opportunity with a video to make it work, then you need to, you know, try and do it. But yeah, stuff's cool. I mean, like I said, I've only seen a little bit of it. Like, I've seen his Simpsons vid, but, you know, that's because I like the simps. A simp for the simps. But yeah, they're cool. I can, if somebody wanted to make thumbnails like Super Eye Patch Wolf, it wouldn't, you know, they're quite simple to replicate. It's just mostly blowing all the lights out, and I was commissioned some of Glink's thumbs. I haven't heard of Glink. What are they like? Go back to my folder of thumbnails. Thumbnail folder. But there you go. Fair enough. I like this one because he went to the effort of, because this was a series, like a consistent one, he went to the effort of like actually creating like a special piece of like text art that could be applied across all the videos. And I just think is really clever. The O and the E make a key. That's cool. And I think, yeah, if you got the opportunity that you might have a series of video essays, journalism with net culture. Cool. Again, I think if you have the opportunity to do like a nice consistent series, like when we were looking at Ebon stuff and it was like what the frick is. I mean, you could have what the frick is like as a nice piece of like kind of logo art or text art, and then you could change out. No clip stuff is really good. I think no clip works. Like, I think in Mark's case, like, he has to use kind of promotional images and game art. While with no clip, I think the lucky thing with that is that because it's all kind of interview driven, nice big face right at the front, which is always going to do like wonders for getting like eyes on stuff. I mean, I'm gonna have a quick look at No Clip's website now. Let's see. Yeah, again, Bugsnax 1, that's really cool. Hitman 1, that's really cool, and it looks like the branding, like it looks like Hitman stuff. Hades, again, looks like it fits within Hades. It's all very neat. And again, with these, like, apart from like their tiny logo in the corner, you wouldn't really know they are specifically No Clip, but it doesn't matter too much because you're drawn in by, oh, I know this game, that's Super Meat Boy, and oh look, maybe that's the guy who made it. We can chat about that. Oh, big old face of Showdown there. And, oh, he must be somebody who had something to do with the original System Shock 2. Let's look into that. That one has a bunch of penises in it. Let's have a look at that. Yeah. Again, really simple. Simple, solid colour for the background. Couple of icons. Phases in the front. No text needed whatsoever. That being said, I don't know what the most popular videos are and how they look. Again, Half-Life front and center. People like Half-Life, they know what it is. Put that right in the front. This one's about Doom. It's got the Doom guy on it. That one was a piece of commissioned artwork, I think, for Horizon Zero Dawn that they got done for the video, which again, if you got the opportunity to get artwork done, I think that's something I've never really thought of trying, but that's something I can work on. Yeah, it's worth a shot. It was PlayerUnknown again. That looks like part of the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds font. That's pretty cool. That one looks like a big piece of pepperoni on a pizza. I'm not sure what that's about, but hey ho. Yeah. I think my brain is about ready to die, so I think 3.5 hours, that might be a good place to wrap up the stream for now. And I think as well, yeah, I think this might be a good place to wrap up the stream. So, let me try and summarize some of the points that came up today. So, I guess first thing first, anybody who did respond to the feedback form, that's really much appreciated, because otherwise I wouldn't have had anything to work on today. And it's been really cool looking through some of your guys' stuff. Like I said, I think everybody here is, everyone's really talented with this stuff. Like, they've got a lot of these tools figured out, and a lot of people have got their channels figured out. And I think basically on a lot of this stuff, it's just kind of taking that next step in regards to, experimenting a little bit more with Photoshop, maybe trying a couple of, don't be afraid to go off brand, really, especially if you're in that opportunity that you have a smaller channel and you kind of, there isn't the expectations from 100,000 subscribers that they're expecting this kind of video from you. You can be a little bit more daring with it, and you can be a bit more experimental with it, because in the case of, like, say, Jacob Geller, his the video that helped him blow up was I made the thumbnail for that, which was his Shadow of the Colossus one. And in regards to that, that didn't look like anything else that he had previously made. It was this big old epic looking thing of, he's looking at this big old piece of text saying, lost, unfound secrets, or, old secrets and stuff like that. And I guess people drawn in. And, that wasn't working in a particular set of parameters, In his case, there were no parameters in place. But I think there were also opportunities for, say, like with Eurothug and whatever, where maybe there were, or even with Mitch, there were rules in place, but we could try and push those, as far as we could get away with, and get really nice results out of it. So yeah, I think if you got the passion to continue making YouTube stuff, and to continue looking into your particular niche, or even starting to experiment more niches through what you're interested in, have your branding look like that, have your branding reflect that, and have your videos and stuff look like that. So thank you very much. Well, I'm glad this stream went okay. I'm surprised I was able to talk for 3 hours and 40 minutes. That being said, 10 minutes of those were waiting for the stream to start, so I'm surprised I was able to talk for 3.5 hours non-stop. Really appreciate you guys appearing in the stream as well. I'm surprised, appreciate you sticking around, Ebon, considering you're on Australian time at the moment, but I guess it must be 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock now for you over in Oz, so I guess maybe it's not as bad, but I think I'd be interested in doing one of these again. I think I mean I think I'll have to anyways for Cynical and Chariot anyways because they did wait for me to go over their stuff, and unfortunately I did let them down in that respect. But I would be more than happy to do so another time, and hopefully from doing this, maybe other people might watch this and think, oh, I'd be quite interested in seeing what he thinks of my stuff. So, like, let's have a look, let's promote some stuff there. Or, I'm even more happy to kind of go through looking more at kind of other people's thumbnails who didn't submit, but even looking more into doing Photoshop streams, teach people how to use the software a bit more and, some of the stuff that you can get out of it. So, that'd be pretty good. Maybe play some games or something. That'd be fun. I had lined up. I was going to do some GBA stuff because 20th anniversary and all that, and plus I like GBA stuff. So maybe I'll do that another time as well. But yeah, I think with that, it's time to wrap up the stream. So thank you everybody who's currently here and is watching, and if I will keep the stream running a little bit longer so we can all say goodbyes and stuff like that. But thank you very much, Zeki. I think from there, have a good morning or afternoon or evening wherever you are in the world, and until next time, I'll see you all in the next stream. And you'll get to enjoy the thought cider rotating cube now for ending soon.